handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
My name is Gianluca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcast, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM and on United States.FM network. Another Sunday, another show. And it's kind of getting to summertime here. And unfortunately, things are getting hot. Hot not in the way that I wish. It's not just about weather. Getting hot in pretty much every way. It's very hard to keep sanity, I'm telling you guys. You know, if you're aware of what's going on around us, it almost feels like we're living in some sort of sci-fi movie. Unfortunately, it's so real. And it's happening in front of our eyes. So I try to find the balance, you know, even when I bring this show to you, that is not a show to entertain you, as you know. It's a show to bring you news, information, and more important, ideas on what we can do to pretty much bring back our republic, take back our republic, and stop this global tyranny upon us. Now, at the same time, I try also to find some balance when I can. That's why the show is called Love, Guns, and Freedom. It's not just about, you know, political activism, guns, or, you know, news about government, or pretty much about how we can do to defend our freedom. Also about to try to take a break to all this evil and trying to regroup, finding each other, and trying to, you know, find comfort, even just in some moment of simplicity, just to find some peace, regroup, go to sleep, have a little fun, and be ready to fight another day. So this is pretty much the idea. Now, I need to start the show, unfortunately. It's kind of hot today. And the news I'm going to bring is going to be kind of disturbing. So I need a break. I don't use drugs. I don't use any type of medications. But I got to tell you guys, you know, don't take my wine. This is my wine and my coffee. It's pretty much my comfort zone. And I know that I don't drink to hurt. I just like to drink with food. And once in a while, you know, when like stressful times arise, I like to enjoy a glass of wine just to relax. So now I have a beautiful white Pinot Grigio from Italy. And you know what? It's cold and it's beautiful. So let me have a little sip. Sorry, but, you know, normally I would drink from the glass. But today I'm in the mood. And I have the whole bottle in front of me. Anyway, let's talk about today's show. Today's show, Love, Guns, and Freedom, of this June the 7th edition. We have important information. First of all, in the first hour, I will bring to you some news. Normally, you know, I bring a lot of guests. I've been bringing every Sunday several guests. And I want to take today a little break from guests at the first hour. I want to a little more talk to you directly. Try to share the news that I repute important, and you know, try to almost metabolize them and process them and share them with you. So we have some news going on, and also some local news here in Mohave County that I don't think they're just local. I think they may be important to anybody out there, anybody who lives in America especially. And this is about Mohave County local government just voted for pretty much submit to the International Building Code. And I'll tell you more. And I also have the pleasure to have with me as a guest Supervisor Stephen Moss. Stephen Moss, that is one of the supervisors who voted in favor of this IBC, International Building Code. And I'll tell you my opinion, what I think about it. And of course, I love to give the chance to people who disagree, at least I disagree with, to share their reason why they support things like this. And this is the idea of the show. It is not about me being right or you being right. It's about, you know, try to be logic, try to be civil, try to find out exactly what's going on. And, you know, I respect much more people who would disagree, but at least they stick to their guns and they try to bring some logic into that. And they're not shy about it, and they're honest. Then people that try to play both shoes. Anyway, so I want to give respect to Supervisor Moss, at least for coming on the show and talking with me about this International Building Code. So we have a lot of information. Second hour, of course, we'll talk about guns. It's going to be good stuff about training And also about what I really like, it's about some deals. I like to find deals for you, my friends, that normally you wouldn't find from other shows, because I'm not even getting paid. When I bring you a deal in the gun business, let's say some incredible deals on rifles or handguns or ammunition, place where to find different tactical gear, I'm not even getting paid by these companies. I do it because I really believe there are good deals out there, and my goal is to be free, to be able to tell you exactly what I really believe is true, in my opinion. So I bring you great deals because my goal is to bring you great information. I hope you can use it, okay? So that's pretty much the story. Now, let's talk first of all the first hour. First hour, there's a lot of things going on. Before we go into the International Building Code, what I really I found disturbing this week, it is pretty much this new Patriot Act being renewed, okay? The Patriot Act that now it has another name, of course, and we will go there. And it's so sad to see that we have, of course, not only Obama that is a fraud, we know very well. He was the guy that pretty much supposedly he was in opposition, he was against the Patriot Act when Bush was there. He's supposed to repeal the Patriot Act. Not only he renew it, but now he pretty much is behind this new sort of a Patriot Act. It's called the Freedom Act. That is pretty much worse than the Patriot Act. And it's sad, because both parties, my dear friends, Democrats and Republicans, they're pretty much united together in destroying our freedoms and our rights. And why, people think is something that is so good, you really think that the Freedom Act, just because there is the word freedom, it's about freedom, or the Patriot Act, just because it's about patriotism, you think it's something good. My friends, I hope you can still use your brain and do not just repeat like a parrot what you hear on any of this network controlled by the same masters, please. The Patriot Act is as patriot probably as Hitler was patriot to the Jews. And so the Freedom Act is the same crap, seriously. Let me just analyze a little bit. First of all, the vote, the Senate was 67 to 32. Pretty much, the vote that passed the USA Freedom Act. And this is just after the expiration of pretty much some key elements of the US Patriot Act. The Freedom Act, is pretty much like some sort of, let's put it this way, it's a new Frankenstein version of the Patriot Act. Okay? And it is amazing, it is amazing because I invite to read the Patriot Act. I invite to read this Freedom Act and realize that there is nothing about freedom. It's just about complete destruction of our Bill of Rights. Anyway, the point is that pretty much now the government has they already been collecting against any type of laws unconstitutionally with the NSA every data we have, every phone call, every email. That's the point. But now it's even better, and I've been sarcastic, because the Freedom Act turns private telecommunication companies into agents of the state, okay? So they are required to store every personal information that we do, and turn it to the state every time they demand it. No court order, nothing, just because they say so. And this is so important because if you think that this is a minor thing, and I can hear already people say, if you have nothing to hide, guess what? Maybe the government should understand that we have a Bill of Rights. And the Fourth Amendment was pretty much written because the point, I don't have nothing to hide. At the same time, guess what? Maybe they have something to hide. And let me just tell you, did you notice that just this week, China pretty much directly from the government holy mouth, pretty much said that didn't say, but they've been found that they hack more than 4 million workers, American workers' data. Think about it. Now, you think really that everything that is collected in storage somewhere cannot be hacked? Everything can be hacked, every information. And do you really trust so much the government that you think they may not even sell or give this information to some foreign government? I mean, look what we have the last 6 years. You think he wouldn't give this guy at the White House, he supports Mao Zedong. On the Christmas tree, they have balls and decoration of Mao Zedong, a mass murderer, communist bastard who killed more than 60 million of his own people. And you know very well, Obama, his background is not exactly about freedom. He's a Marxist piece of crap. That's the bottom line. So, no, I don't want to collect any of my data, any of our fellow American data without any type of due process. Because now, as you know, all this started under pretty much the pretenses of security. And, we suppose this was just for the man with the beard and the turbans out there, of course. We America, we're nothing to worry about it, but at the same time, it's also for us. Now, of course, who are the real terrorists? People who believe in the Constitution. We know very well gun owners, Christians, homeschoolers, people who don't want to have vaccines. I mean, we know the story. Everybody has some brain and is not going to submit to the government like a cow. That's the bottom line. So the Freedom Act sucks. And I challenge anybody out there that they think is going to be something good for this country. Go check it out. Read it yourself. I'm not going to dedicate too much time reading it all on the air. It takes 3 hours just to go through that. But the point is the distraction of everything from the Fourth Amendment to the Fifth Amendment and everything else. So don't forget, every time you hear a word like Freedom Act or Patriot Act, is exactly what it's like a psychological warfare operation. It's exactly the opposite. Now, as much as I'm not a fan of Rand Paul, I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not a fan of Rand Paul because I really believe Rand Paul is not like the father. Rand Paul, unfortunately, is a politician in a way that he compromises too many times. He compromised, first of all, with, endorsing Mitch McConnell, that humongous piece of garbage that now is the Speaker of the Senate. And then, of course, a lot of things that Rand Paul, for me, Senator Rand Paul did not do right. First of all, supporting Monsanto. And then, of course, allowing to be on the floor the vote, to allow to vote for the TPP. And, of course, the TPP passed. Even he didn't vote for it, but he allowed to be on the floor. So it's not exactly what I call, for me, the best candidate. But I want to give credit where credit is due. He was the only one, at least one of the few senators that really openly, courageously spoke up, denouncing the Patriot Act, denouncing this travesty called the Freedom Act. So I want to give him credit, and I appreciate that. Now, little bit about other news, because I think it's very important that, we need to talk a little bit about everything. I don't want to just focus on this, but this is for me one of the most important things. Now, let's talk about, first of all, this local government situation. I really believe that one of the characteristics that created America as an idea of freedom was the centralization of powers. The idea of the Union, of the 50 states, that was exactly revolutionary in that way. And, I was even born here. I study American history, and I compare to European history, where I was born in Italy. It's completely the opposite. All governments, they have a central government, pretty much means tyranny, means corruption. And don't get me wrong, there is corruption everywhere. After all, we're all human beings, and local governments, they are corrupted too. But for sure, when you have a central form of government, it pretty much can dictate everything from the central headquarters. It's very easy to control the rest. All you gotta do is control one place. Now, why I'm saying that? Because, just a few days ago, the beginning of this week, in Mohave County, Arizona, one of the places where I live, I found out that the Mohave County supervisors pretty much voted, or at least 4 against 1, but the majority of them voted to support and enforce the International Building Code in Mohave County. I said before, regardless that many people have the other opinion about it, they think International Building Code, after all, is not international. It's just made by, after all, it's an American, created by American bureaucrats. But the idea is, why should I pretty much submit to live under a code created by a bunch of bureaucrats that they are, first of all, living in other states, and they have no accountability. We don't even know who they are. And we surrender our sovereignty of county. Forget about state. I think every county should have their building codes. Okay? That's the idea, the beautiful thing about freedom. It's called decentralization. Keep it local. Keep it independent, So I was very disappointed because the 4 supervisors out of 5, and the only supervisor who did not vote for this international building code was Supervisor Hildy Andrews from Bullhead City. The other one, and I can give you the names, one was Supervisor Stephen Moss from Fort Mohave. Then there was, of course, Supervisor Jim Bishop from Golden Valley, or at least the area of, the part of Golden Valley rural area. Then, of course, there was Supervisor Gary Watson and Supervisor Buster Johnson from the area of Lake Havasu. They all voted for the International Building Code. Now, I would like to analyze more what exactly means this International Building Code, and I want to always give the opportunity for people who disagree. This is exactly the idea of the show. I don't want to be by myself here and say I'm great and I'm right. No. Many times, I really hope I'm wrong. I hope you can come here and tell me, Luca, you're wrong, and I'll show you why. And I'm humble enough to say, hey, if you're right, I say yes. But I tell you, on this one, I have my own convictions, and I just told you, before even we go in anything, I'll let you know my personal opinion about codes and permits. And I will repeat it, of course, during now this segment. I will have in a few minutes here on the air with me Supervisor Stephen Moss, where we exchange some ideas. But let me tell you my idea about codes and permits. The only code I should do, or at least a free human being should be able to submit himself, is the code to, first of all, responsibility. And with freedom comes responsibility. And more important, the general law, that universal law, that we have rights until we do not endanger somebody else's rights or safety. That's the code. So, for example, let's say you live in a town or in a city where, of course, you live close to each other, and you must be sure that you do not endanger others. I understand. You live in that condition, you must have some third party that, must guarantee that you're building your home in a way that if the roof falls, it doesn't fall in somebody else's head. Nothing wrong with that. That's apply the concept. You must be sure that you don't infringe on somebody else's rights. Now, I live for choice. I could live anywhere in the world, but I decided I love to live in rural Arizona. This is the place I wanted to live because I love freedom. I love the spaces. I don't like the constrictions of bureaucrats over my neck. And of course, we still have bureaucrats even here. But the idea here, technically, at least what's supposed to be, for example, Golden Valley till in the late 80s, we didn't have to have any permits. Just a septic tank. That's all you need. Because when you live on 10 acres or 50 acres or whatever acres, but you don't have anybody next to you, if you build a house that sucks and the roof falls on your head, guess what? That's going to be your head. So my point is this one. I really believe that, all these codes and regulations, especially when it comes down to permits, supposed to be, for my opinion, just following the basic rule that unless we endanger somebody else, we're supposed to have not be forced or coerced to comply to have these permits. The word permit itself is for slaves. Think about it. You have a permit for something that you really do not own. If you own your car, would you ask me, Luca Zanna, hey, can I use my car? Hell no, it's your car. You use your car. The moment that you had to ask me to use your car, that's not your car anymore. It means it's mine after all. So the idea of permit sucks. Okay, it's for slaves. But we've been trained, of course, the last at least 100 years. Now, when we meet the condition that we do not endanger anybody else, okay, that's what I was trying to say, I really believe that the permit's supposed to be optionals, especially when we have also the sub-condition that we own free and clear the property. So that means there is no a bank or a lender that could be compromised, because that's also part of not endangering somebody else's right. Let's say I bought the land, it's my land, there is no bank involved. I built the house with my own money, there is no bank involved, and no even insurance involved at this point. At that point, I should supposed to have the freedom to decide if I want to use permits or not. Of course, going out there with this idea, probably you think people may think I'm crazy, but use the logic. If you are not endangering anybody else, why should you be submitted with force and penalty to lose your home to have a permit for something supposed to be yours? When you make this condition, as I said. Now we have, of course, in Mohave County, the International Building Code. That, it is not from China yet. It is not from Russia. It is not from Europe, but it's from a bunch of bureaucrats coming from different states, among those also the District of Criminals, means D.C., Washington, D.C., that for me is as international as it can be. They pretty much, they tell you what you're supposed to do in your community. If people understand that this is mean exactly centralization, no accountability, it means slavery. Because today you maybe be okay, this code maybe would be okay. After all, it's just to keep us safe. Guess what? If you go directly to their website, that I will talk about this later on directly with Supervisor Moss, you realize that they have the magic word used. It's called sustainability. And every time you see sustainability, guess what? Means fraud, means that is behind, there is this agenda of the United Nations to create this new Agenda 21. Where pretty much they control all the resources. They will tell you what type of, windows you can use, what type of roof or insulation you can use. Because after all, if you don't do that, you must be some sort of eco-criminal. You must be probably polluting because you fart too much. The idea they want to now tax us just because we breathe. And of course, they want to also tax the cows because they fart. Sorry to use this word, but it's true. So that's my point. So I want to give my best wishes. Even I don't agree every time on everything, but on this one, Hildy Angus, supervisor from Bullhead, or Mohave County supervisor, you've been great. Sticking to the principles. For, against you, I don't care, you lost on this, or at least you didn't get what we wanted to, but the bottom line, you stood to the principles that we elected you. So, very good. And, I'm disappointed with the other one. And everybody might have their reasons. And now we will hear directly from Supervisor Stephen Moss his reasons. Let's see what he has to say. So let me get right now Supervisor Stephen Moss, and he will tell us a little bit about what's going on, why he voted for the International Building Code in Mohave County. And by the way, just to let you know, guys, the International Building Code pretty much says that all citizens and residents are hereby advised. This is a legally binding document duly incorporated by reference, and that failure to comply with such requirements as hereby detailed within may subject you to criminal and civil penalties under the law. Think about it. They pretty much sell us out our sovereignty. And now it's the law. It's a local law. It's a local law that pretty much sold our sovereignty to a bunch of bureaucrats that we don't even know their names. So that's my point. And remember also, my dear friends, there were also laws in the past where slavery was lawful. Or there were laws where all people with Japanese background had to go to the concentration camps. And you know what, dear politicians? You push laws like this, and more people will break the law. I really would suggest everybody to read a book. It's called The Law by Frédéric Bastiat. I think it's very important. It will show you that pretty much how the law can be distorted and be used as an instrument of coercion to steal your freedom. But let me tell you this one. I give respect at least to Supervisor Moss, because regardless, even when we disagree, he's always here. But at the same time, I'm telling you, same time it's my duty to try to do everything I can, even with this humble radio show, to share this information, and I hope we can replace every politician who pretty much keep selling us down the river, selling out our sovereignty. Here we go. Now we have Supervisor Stephen Moss from Mohave County. At the same time, let me just go a little bit with some music, because I need to warm up, another glass of wine, and there we go with Supervisor Moss. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. This is our number one, first hour. Don't go away. Now, Supervisor Moss, it's here.
America, before it's too late. They're trying to make you fade away. They're trying to kill your faith. Every day you're invaded, your soil desecrated. Politicians turn their back. You're under attack. You're under attack. They're trying to erase your borders. The UN wants to give you orders. They're trying to sell your pride. It's time to wake up. Now it's time to fight. Wake up, America, before it's too late. media bias lies. They want to divide the enemy inside. The enemy inside. Brainwashed from too much TV. You're getting weak. You're getting bleak. They're trying to sell you jobs. Please wake up now. Till there's some hope. Wake up. Wake up, America. In the name of evolution, they have the right to kill a child. They call it the right to choose. I just call it crime. They're selling your future, but there is still hope for you, America. Now is the time to wake up and fight. Now is the time, or you will die.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Here we go. Today we will talk about how important it is to be involved in local government. I really believe that, we don't need to ruin everything, and I like that. That's the purpose also of the show. Honestly, I enjoy when I have on my show people that we disagree. This is pretty much the point. We don't need to preach to the choir. We need to learn from each other. And I'm the first one to admit when I'm wrong, and I'm the first one to change my position when proven by facts and logic. Maybe there is some good, even in the things I thought they were bad. Now, where am I going with this? I'm talking today with Supervisor Stephen Moss. I love Stephen Moss because, most of the times we agree on issues. And even he's not my supervisor, one of the things I really like about him, he he's not afraid to face the consequences of his votes. I like that. At least he stick with what he believes, and I respect that. So, Supervisor Moss, are you there?
I'm doing very well, Luca. Thank you.
Thank you. And today, normally I call you on things that most of the time we get along. And, by the way, and I like your stance on many other issues you did in the past. For example, remember your position on the Second Amendment in county building. Mohave County, we are the only county, I guess, in the state that we can allow law-abiding people to have a gun. And that's great. You were a very good, defender of our Second Amendment. And also, like your stance, you try to defend our tax right, our tax dollar against this sort of, cable access or whatever, this broadcasting system in the county. So a lot of things we get along. But I like to see when once in a while we don't get along, and I like to understand why, and maybe you can help me out to learn, and maybe I can tell you a little bit about what I think about it. And the topic today, it is your vote, like all the other 4 supervisors out of 5, I think it was on Monday. most of the supervisors approved this new IBC, International Building Code. Are you familiar with that?
I am.
Perfect. Now, I want to give you the floor because I want to hear directly from your mouth. I promise I will shut up. I will not talk over you. I want to know exactly why did you vote for IBC, exactly what is IBC, and then I can give you maybe my 2 sentences on that. Go ahead, please.
Great. The International Building Code is a collection of American building codes when it comes from like fire prevention, electrical, plumbing, etc. when it comes to the design and construction of buildings. It's called the International Building Code because America is hoping to export it to the rest of the world. I think so far we've had some limited success in the Caribbean, and one of the original founders of the IBC made the comment that if we had called it the U.S. Building Code, other countries would be less likely to be receptive to accepting it. The purpose of the building code is to basically give best practices when it comes to the construction of homes, commercial buildings, schools, anything that's vertical, up in the air construction. It's revised every 3 to 6 years, primarily because there are new materials that come out, there are new methods of building which come out, and it's updated from time to time. The last building code accepted by Mohave County was in 2006. There's been 2 revisions since then.
Okay.
And with the third one pending. We went to the 2012 building code, which we accepted, but we amended it significantly. The 2012 building code, which is the model code, had a lot of language in there that says, you shall do this. We changed a lot of that to you may do this. And also they had a lot of provisions which would have been very expensive for contractors, so we just deleted those segments and said the 2006 building code controls in those areas where it would have cost additional money for a contractor or a plumber to comply. Mm-hmm. The reason that we felt compelled to do this, and there is financial coercion placed upon us to some degree, not directly against the county, but on the financial consequences to our taxpayers and our residents. New construction would have had a higher insurance premium attached to it. Buildings within floodplains, if we didn't accept the 2012 code, future buildings would have had higher flood control for flood insurance premiums attached to it, and millions of dollars in grant money from the federal government when it comes to our flood control, which is a health and safety issue, would have been seriously imperiled. Okay. And so when it came to the finances of it, when it came to us having the right to draw the sting, mitigate the harm, which we did, to me, it had to do with, my grandmother once said, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I don't really like the idea of having these things thrust upon us, but sometimes you have to accept the reality of the situation, and sometimes something you don't like is the most practical solution to the situation. You can't win them all, and there are some battles which are not worth fighting. Okay. And so I went with the majority. I think it was the correct decision to do. And Supervisor Angus, who is a wonderful lady, she's very brave, and she is very much the idealist, was the lone holdout on adopting the 2012 as amended code, and I have to give her a lot of credit for sticking to her guns. Okay, perfect. And I like to hear from people's voice. I hate when we just, have somebody heard or whatever. So this is you on the record, and that's great. At least you got your reasons. And now I'd like to give you a little bit of my feedback on this one, okay? First of all, sure. Did you ever read the 700 pages or whatever? It's a big book. It costs like $120 on Amazon, the International Building Code of 2015. Did you have a chance to go through this few hundred pages of code? Not the 2015 version. I did look at the 2012 version because they have it at the county offices. Okay. I'll confess that I didn't understand. I didn't understand a lot of it because I'm not a contractor. Their formulas and some of the verbiage I simply don't understand and why 5/8 of gypsum board is better than 1/2 of plywood. Okay. I don't know. They have a lot of stuff like that in there, yes. Okay. So the point, it's a big book. And the point is,
I understand the logic behind that you're trying to push. It means that, to try to save money and try to also comply with this federal situation with the FEMA or whatever, and the insurances. A lot of good reasons. But there is also another point, Do we agree on the concept that if we want to keep freedom, at least the idea of America was founded upon, the 50 states, the counties, local municipality, decentralization, it's the key of freedom. I mean, for example, I don't know your position on Common Core, but the point is everything that becomes from a centralized form of government today could be good, maybe, but the point is, that tomorrow may change to a new head, and whoever controls the head will control the rest of the body. So what I really believe America was so lucky all these years, they always been created as a form of decentralization from power. And when we talk also about a building code, that is no more under the control of our local government, the point is now we have a group of people that they are from different states. They are not even elected. We have no control over them. Today they may give us something that makes sense, try to improve the safety and all the good things that we may agree. But tomorrow could be also start to comply, to at least apply political agendas in the building code. And whenever we hear the word sustainability, I don't know if you ever heard about the word sustainability, because there is the website directly from the organization that pretty much is behind this international building code. And I'm telling you, wherever you hear the word sustainability, they can start to play now a lot of interesting games, part of the Agenda 21 situation. So my point is this way, don't you agree that keep everything local, even with our own limitations sometimes, it can give us more control and more accountability of our government?
I do agree, and you're right to be concerned over potential long-term consequences. What you're referring to is a group who put the building code together. It's called the International Code Council, the ICC.
Yes, ICC.
They have multiple codes. I mean, they probably have 15, 20 different codes out there for different things. Mohave County focused only on accepting those who had direct impact on trades. They have, the ICC, for example, has an international zoning code. We didn't touch that with the 10-foot pole. So they have a bunch of things out there, and some of them which do have to do with sustainability, but we did not move in that direction. Mm-hmm. In the future, they could try to figure out a way to force it on us. In the future, if things got worse, I think we would do exactly what we did this last time, which is do a cost-benefit analysis. Most of the contractors were already complying with the 2012 code. Mm-hmm. Was the word I got back, because they have to, because Kingman and Lake Havasu have already adopted it. All the other counties have already adopted it. So to the contractors, it wasn't that big of a deal. And so that's our cost there, and then you have the losses that we would experience if we hadn't adopted it. And then on the other side of the equation, where Supervisor Angus wound up on, is that you are essentially giving in to this entity that you don't want to give into. Mm-hmm. And so where I drew the line in the sand was a different spot than where Supervisor Angus drew the line in the sand. And as a philosophical matter, I'm more sympathetic to Supervisor Angus's. But I can't always think with my heart. Sometimes I have to think with my head as a supervisor, and I went with the practical solution this time. Does not mean the answer won't be different.
What I'm concerned, normally the devil starts to sneak in the foot before he brings all the rest of the legs between the door. Okay, they always try with something that is pretty much under control. And today you're there at the helm, and probably you're pretty aware of what's going on with this overreach of federal and international control of our lives, under EPA, Agenda 21, and all the different things. At the same time, maybe a few years from now, when you're back to take care of your personal private business, and maybe you're no more here at the helm, somebody else is going to have a little different opinion. We already pretty much semi-opened the door for the next stage. This is my concern. And also, the point is this one. I like to be harsh, or a little bit harsher on people that I have high expectation, like yourself. Because, I don't know if you remember, the first time when we were talking, the first time you came on my show, was almost 15 months ago, one of my first few shows. Call me naive, call me kind of idealistic, but how I think about codes. If I own the land, if I have no bankers and no lenders involved, if I meet the requirement that I don't not endanger my neighbors, that means I'm not living like on top of each other, I supposed not to ask any permit unless I want to, supposed not to be mandatory, but this is just me, of course, talking, because if really the house, the home, and the land supposed to be mine, I should have the right to choose if I want to ask for a code and a permit, apply for a code or a permit to a county. And I understand the fact that you were saying, we need to try to defend the right of the potential buyer. And I said it's called disclosure. And also it's called, maybe there is a different way instead of enforcing it, but the point is, somebody like you always had hope that maybe one day we could live in a different county, the first county that maybe don't have anymore. We go back before 1980 something, where we didn't have really many codes here in Golden Valley. But now when I see IBC and 2015 and we got that, it's kind of a little bit sad, but I really respect the fact that at least you took the time to share your opinion, your logic behind, and I hope and pray that we're not going to have more of this intrusion because, as you said, you limit with some amendments, you pretty much try to keep part of this code away from the county, correct?
Correct.
So
and I got to say, I agree with your philosophy on land and how people should treat themselves in relation to their land. And I think that's a right that that all Americans should enjoy. But I'm also of the position that no rights are unlimited. There's always some restrictions. You go back to ancient Rome, where, when the tenement houses were falling down because when they were mixing the concrete, the builders would put more water in or throw debris into the mix. And then they get 6 stories high and they collapse on people. And finally, even the Romans were declaring, the formulas for their concrete and how far people had to be away from each other and stuff like that.
Oh, I agree.
So there has to be some regulation.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And for me, the part is very important. My rights end when somebody else's rights start. So the point is,
right.
If I live in a town, in a city that we have pretty much, touching each other, and there are, like in Rome, all these apartments or whatever, it's more than understandable. We need to be sure everybody's guaranteeing their rights. But let's say in rural America, especially here in Mohave County, where the average person may easily have access to 5 acres or 2 acres or 10 acres or more. And the bottom line, beside the water, of course, that we want to control it, everybody must be sure that we do not pollute. So it's called a septic tank. Beside that, if I build a house in the middle of my 5 or 20 acres land that I may have around here, and what is really the responsibility I have towards my neighbor? I mean, seriously, the point is, the only thing could happen, the next buyer will say, hey, do you have a permit? Do you have a code? Do you have an inspection? And that's my interest as a private business owner or a private homeowner, to be sure that I can resell this value, this house with the top value. But I don't think should be, when we have met this condition, I agree with you, we're not endangering anybody else. We should not be face thousands of dollars of penalty every day, and more important, the risk to lose the home, period,
And you're right. I mean, your position, your statement is very logical, very rational, and I'd be very sympathetic to it.
I hope.
And but then you go to the flip side of the equation, which is in Mohave County, where we have lots of flooding, and we don't have enough money to deal with those flood areas. Are we really going to throw away? I mean, because you're right, they're corrupting us, they're bribing us, and in my view, bribery is corruption, and we are being bribed. But it's to conform to their standards. But are we really going to cast that aside, potentially endangering the public health elsewhere? So, but your reasoning, Luca, is very good. I mean, it's very logical, very sensible, and I'm very sympathetic to it.
And also, if I remember, I said, with no lenders and no banker involved. I pay cash, so I'm risking my own money, not somebody else's money. I would understand if I'm using the bank's money, I should not able to do that. But anyway, listen. I really want to thank you. You always been the person that even when we disagree, at least you always stick to your guns, and I respect that. I hope one day, before you leave office, you're going to maybe surprise us with some, instead of approving another IBC, maybe you're going to give us the option, to go back to America where we are responsible for our own actions. And if we do not infringe on other people's rights, we should not be any more forced or coerced by a county government to apply for a permit unless we feel it's the right thing for our value or resale value. That would be my dream. I know it's going to be probably almost impossible, but I still dream, okay?
That's a good dream to have. I'll tell you, actually, and this is not a serious proposition yet because I don't have all the details I would need. But I have been, over beers, arguing with friends of mine, trying to convince them we should abolish the sales tax in Mohave County and just try to go exclusive, or not the sales tax, abolish the property tax in Mohave County and just go exclusively with the sales tax.
That would be so nice.
Don't tax people's land, because that means they're essentially a tenant to the government, who's the landlord. Tax their sales, because that means you're taxing consumption, and people are effectively choosing their own tax rate. They spend more, they pay more. They spend less, they get taxed less.
You're right.
And so whether I can convince, whether it's practical and whether I can convince people of that, I don't know. But it's something that, as a hypothetical, I'm very interested in pursuing further.
And I would give you, like, I would buy a picture of you, put it in my altar in the house with all the saints and a couple of candles, and I'll pray for you every morning, okay? Because I really think you just touched the most important topic. This is not the main topic I was calling you for, but it's so important. The idea that we own something, it's so an illusion. The moment that we stop paying the property taxes, we lose everything after we paid for years. And the same concept, we can apply the same logic to a pair of shoes, or why not to your maybe dishwasher. Unfortunately, once you open that Pandora's vase, the government has so much power now. Today they say they can tax you forever, every year, the piece of land that you have. Or the car, of course, just because you have a car. But the point, think about the same property tax could be used to your shoes. After all, you have the shoes. Thank you.
You're right, and I don't like it. It's just like I don't like the income tax. The income tax says the government owns your labor. They own a percentage of your labor, and they decide what percentage. Is it 1%? Is it 99%? The only thing stopping them from taking all of your labor, and if you don't own your own labor, that makes you a slave.
Exactly.
So I hate the property tax. I hate the income tax. I don't mind the sales tax.
I agree.
But I hate the income tax, and I hate the property tax.
I agree. At least I really, that's why I say, I think you got a lot of, your heart is the right place. I wanted to understand more why with your logic. Even, of course, I think on this one, Supervisor Hildy Andrews did all the way. Even sometimes, as you said, sometimes you want to be right or you want to be stick to your principle. But the point is, at least I appreciate your articulating why you did that, and that's very important. I think I give you credit for that a lot, and I really pray maybe you're going to be able to put some logic and maybe find some support also from other supervisors about this great concept that if we really own our property, we're supposed not to pay every year this rent. Thank you, Supervisor.
Right.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So Patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
Was Supervisor Stephen Moss. I really want to thank him again because, I really love this show. And the idea is to meet each other, at least be civil, articulate our logic, and try to learn from each other. I tell you, I really believe that we can help each other too. If we have the right heart, the right place, if you're not an evil person, the idea, you want to be free. You want other people to prosper. You want other people to be free. So it's only a question to try to put some logic and try to find a way that we can achieve that together. That's my bottom line. Now, talking about freedom, nothing is really free because somebody always has to pay, okay? This show, this radio station, first of all, I want to thank KTOX 1340 AM because, is allowing me to bring news and topics that pretty much normally you're not able to listen to this type of stuff on average commercial radio stations, okay? And I have complete freedom, all I have to do, pretty much just use an FCC language, do not cuss. This is public for the public, so I understand that. We are not just on the internet, it's also on the radio, and there are also other outlets now rebroadcasting the show. And I'm really thankful to all of you. But I want to say, you listeners, please, who are there, support the sponsors of this station. Support also the sponsors or wherever you're listening on the internet, this program. Because differently from the government doesn't ask you for money. They just put a gun on your face. If you don't pay, they pretty much coerce you. They force you. Here, it's a free market. We are here. I'm here because of you. And I appreciate it. And also, I want to let you know, if you want to really support the show and let me be able to be completely independent the way I am anyway, because I couldn't do and I wouldn't do the show in any other way. I don't like to compromise, As I said, I don't have any type of ambitions to be a radio guy or to be some sort of a radio personality. I don't really care. I'm happy the way I am. I like my life and I don't need even the job. But my point is, for me, the show is about to try to bring news and facts that I really believe they are important. To keep this information free and unfiltered, I ask for your help. The help is very simple. All you gotta do is go to one of my websites. One of my websites I can tell you is, for example, just you go to lovegunsfreedom.com, and you can find the music section, and you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. I wrote and produced more than 100 songs since I came to America. And now you can buy them. You can buy the CDs. Also, you can buy the individual downloads, just 99 cents. Also, I have another, I like to paint. I'm kind of a multitask guy. And I rediscovered the love for paint. Last time I painted, I was probably about 17. Now I'm a little older. But the point is, I enjoy painting. I have a special technique. I paint with my gun. That means the gun is empty, no round in the chamber, and no magazine, but I use the gun as a support for my brushes. So go to my website, www.zanna.art.com. Now, talk a little bit about other things, so that's the way you can support the show. I love to have everybody on the show, and I love to engage with people who disagree. And as you can hear, even sometimes I'm pretty passionate. I try to be always very civil when you're civil and when you bring logic. And I respect you when you do not hide and when you do not try to be a rat and try to flip-flop. At least you stick what you think is right, and I will fight you in the arena of the ideas. And I will try to vote you out and do everything I can in case you are a politician. And that's fine. But what I do not respect, what really I do not like, are people who hide. They hide. People, they're hiding. First of all, like, for example, on Facebook, they do not put their face out there, and they're trying to be, let's say, almost insulting to myself. I don't mind if you want to tell me that whatever idea you have about me, that's fine. If you don't like me, that's fine. But I have much more respect for somebody who, for example, has something to say about me, who doesn't like me, and of course you can articulate, and I don't even have to answer to you, I don't really care, but at least you show your face. At least you use your real name. I respect that, because I use my name. You can see my face. I am who I am. My name is Gianluca Zanna, and I have nothing to hide. If you don't like me, that's fine. The moment that you cross the line, first of all, you start to use a language filled with violence or bigotry, you're going to get it back, okay? Now, there is this person that supposedly is a woman. Her name is Lynn. I can't even say the last name if I want to, but I don't really want to. Anyway, she said, hey, why should I show my face to anyone? And of course, you are nuts talking to me. Something that has been known since you arrived in the area. It's easy to say that you are an American, but no real American spews the trash that you do about our nation and its leaders. First of all, that's fine. That's your opinion. But before I talk back to you, Lynn Moore, and I'll tell you who you are since the Facebook is public, I really would like to ask you, show your face, be a real person. And if you really think I'm not American enough because, I criticize corrupted government, I think it's our duty as Americans to be part of this process, to be involved. And when we see things that they are not right, to speak up, to do not be afraid. Otherwise, we are just a bunch of sheep, cows, slaves. That's the bottom line. About leaders, you know what? You should go to Nazi Germany, lean, probably, and go to follow your leaders, and go to Italy, follow the Mussolini leaders. The leaders are always humans, and can be right, sometimes can be wrong. And when they're wrong, or when they pretty much go outside the guidelines that we have in this country, pretty much, we have a foundation of our U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights. That's pretty much the oath I took when I became an American, and I stick to this oath. Yes, when I see a politician that pretty much is spitting and peeing and pooping on our Constitution, yes, I do not respect our leaders. You're right. So Bush, Obama, or Clinton, they're just pieces of trash. They're pretty much, slaves and master puppets of the globalist international bankers. That's the idea. So, and then this email continues, I do get a lot of laughs reading your nonsense. Have a nice evening, Lynn Moore. Okay, Lynn, great. But guess what? I'm not even going to waste more a second of my time. If you want to be on my show, I invite you. I want everybody on my show that would disagree, and that's fine. But show your face. Don't hide. More important, be sure that is your real name. So that's my bottom line, That's all I'm trying to say. Let's be civil, but don't be cowards. Now, I want to pretty much say that we're going to go in hour number 2. We'll talk about guns, a lot of good news and bad news about our gun rights, some great training. Today I want to do a little different type of show instead of always having great guests. Today I want to talk more directly to you because I feel that it's important to communicate with you, my listeners, okay? And, something just on the side, don't forget to go to freedomlovers.us. Freedomlovers.us. It is not just the first dating site for singles who believes in freedom, but also is a place to network and, share your business or your services or your blogs. It's free, 100% free. You can create your profile and you go to the classified section. You can sell stuff. Try to keep it legal, please. And write blogs, upload videos, have a free messenger, emails, photos. It's amazing and it's free. Of course, for you, because I'm paying for it. Since I'm paying for it, please use it. freedomlovers.us. So, exciting. I can't wait to go now hour number 2 because I have some great new exciting training tools I want to share with you. And some that are not that great, but I need to share them with you so you don't waste the money. You don't buy something that maybe I think it doesn't really work. So you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Stay tuned. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.FM network. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.FM network. Here we go. Hour number 2, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. As usually, hour number 2, I like to talk about guns. And I will mix and match today a little bit. I would like to talk a little bit about some news, about the Second Amendment, and also legislations that we must monitor, or we should monitor. And also, of course, I like to talk about deals, something that I really like to do now lately. For example, I like to bring on the air deals that I find myself. I like to go around on the internet for guns, ammunition, or accessories. And when I bring you this deal, just to let you know, they are not sponsors, okay? I'll let you know. When there is somebody's paying me for that, I'll let you know. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to be as honest as possible about things that I would buy myself, and I buy normally, okay? And I want to share with you, to try to give you an opportunity to buy that rifle for a great deal, or that handgun, or maybe ammunition. So it's kind of an act of love, okay? Last week, let me put it here, I pretty much share with you, my friends, this incredible deal from CDNN Sports Investments, okay? It's a website. It's out of Abilene, Texas, okay? cdnnsports.com. And there was an incredible deal. It was, because it's gone, they sold out, at least for that price, a Bushmaster carbon, Bushmaster AR-15, made in carbon, M4 platform for about $450. $450. With a rebate from Bushmaster. We're talking about a real AR-15 of course, semi-automatic. This is a semi-automatic rifle version. And it's incredible. Comes with a quad rail. And guess what? Let me show you something. Even, of course, we are on the air and not TV. Here we go. I don't know if you can hear, but this little guy, it's here. So I'm very, very pleased about it. Okay, and here we go. I got it, not because I need another AR-15, and probably this is not my main rifle, but for $450, an AR-15, brand new, Bushmaster, carbon, with a quad rail, how can I say no? I mean, it's like when if I find a little kitty on the road, how can I not bring it home? I mean, seriously, I need to bring it home. So this is an incredible deal. And by the way, it's still there, but now it went a little bit up. I got this one with a rebate for $450. Now it's $500, but still, normally regular price, $870 or change. So, by the way, they give you also 3 magazines, okay? Pro Mag, but still good magazines. So that's my point, my dear friends. I like to share with you deals, and I hope you can take advantage. Another important deal I want to share with you, because, it is something that you need ammo, okay? You can just get a rifle and then you have no ammo. I like very much a place online that you should visit, in my opinion, for ammunition. It's called SG Ammo, okay? SSM, G as golf, ammo.com, okay? And there is still a deal, oh my gosh, only 4 left. 1,000 round of 5.56, 62 grain, steel core, ball ammo. They are Swedish made by Carl Gustaf, and they're military grade, okay? And they're steel core, so they give you some sort of extra penetration. They're pretty much similar to the M855 NATO, okay? But they're made in Sweden. Guess what? 1,000 round for $359 plus $18 shipping. Not bad considering that this used to cost almost double just a few months ago when the ATF, they were playing this game. Now, this ammo, of course, I wouldn't train with. I mean, there are no ammo that you want to shoot at the range just for practice. First of all, probably at many ranges, it's illegal, or at least it's against their policies to shoot, steel penetrators rounds. There could be problem with targets and everything else. But they're great rifle to use for emergency, okay? What I would like to get, or at least what I would suggest you get, in case you need to get some practice ammo, and it's a very good deal. Unfortunately, they sold out just now. But let me tell you, there is, for example, the Brown Bear, always on SG Ammo. Brown Bear is the brand. It's from Russia. 62 grain, hollow point, made by Barnaul. 500 rounds of those, of 223. They're not military like the 5.56, but they still shoot pretty much very well in AR-15, and they're great for practice, and even more, in my opinion. We're talking about, for 500 rounds, $140, $139, plus $14 shipping. So I tell you, I will go just straight with 1,000 round of those, and you pay only $16 for shipping. So you need good ammo. I like the Barnaul, this Brown Bear. I shot several. I never had any problem, Maybe they're a little dirtier than the average, of course, brass stuff. They're steel case. You cannot reload them. Fine. But they're cheap. They're still affordable. So that's something I would really suggest you to go for, okay? I mean, you can get at least, for every rifle you have, in my opinion, humble opinion, you should have at least 5,000 rounds that you do not use just for backup. And then you should have, of course, at least 1,000 rounds that you can practice with during a certain amount of time. It depends on your budget, of course. Remember, rifle, handgun, shotgun, everything, every tool, every weapon, it's like a perishable skill, okay? Yes, you may know probably in your mind the concept, but still your body must sometimes reassess to this type of training. So I suggest you also to do dry practice, something that is very important. And so that's something I would like to share with you. So today I would like to give you pretty much let you know that this incredible deal I talked to you last week or so, this Bushmaster AR-15 from CDNN Sports, it's real. It's great. I got one, and it's in front of me, and all I needed to get was a little rear sight because it didn't come with that. But for $20, I got a flip rear sight, and I'm going to probably shoot it today. And it's a real Bushmaster and carbon. That means pretty much you have this receiver is made of carbon. It's not even regular aluminum. So it's amazing for the price. What do you buy with $450? Seriously. So this is pretty much the little bit of news about deals. Now, if you shoot a handgun, okay, if you shoot a handgun, I'd like to go there today. We can talk a little bit about training and some also in very important topic. What is best for you, or what could be best? An AR-15 on the M16 platform. Of course, this is not full auto, it's semi-auto. Or an AK-47 semi-auto rifle, because I don't think you can afford, or maybe you can find a full automatic out there. So what is the best rifle that a man or a woman, a law-abiding person should own? I'll give you my quick answer. You should buy both. But we will talk a little bit about this sort of, pro and don't between an M16 and AK-47. And, of course, also I'd like to tell you, as I was saying, about 9mm, where you can get the best ammo for the best price. So that's very important. I really believe that it's vital to be able to afford to make a little bit of sacrifices to find the budget to buy ammunition, because you can have a rifle, you can have a handgun, but if you think that just because you got 50 rounds in a box sitting there, you've done your job, that's not even close. You must train. And to train, you need ammunition. So I tell you right now, after this little break, I would like to talk a little bit about maybe just a little song, just to keep you in the mood. Since we're talking about guns, I will share with you one of my songs that is pretty much about, we're talking. And then we will talk about incredible deal about 9mm that you can use for practice for pretty much less than $10, a box of 50. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna, and ready for some music, and then back with incredible news, information, and training. Don't go away.
Enough of your phony hope. You've stolen our son's future. Your empty words are like dope. If you want our guns, you want our souls. If you want our lives, here we stand in line. Come and take it. You're gonna like it. You're gonna feel like it's paradise. Come and take it. You're gonna get it. You're gonna taste it. One between your eyes. Come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it. No more tears, no more fears. Let's have our lives fair. Now time to fight. And freedom may never die. Come and take it. You're gonna like it. You're gonna feel like it's paradise. Come and take it. You're gonna get it. You're gonna taste it. One between your eyes. Come and take it. 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 Come and take it.
that was Come and Take It, music and lyrics by myself, Gianluca Zanna. And I remind you, the show is here, available to you free, because somebody's helping out the show. And you can help out too, If you want to support the show, it's very simple. I don't even ask for donations. All I ask you, the opportunity to share with you my music. You can go to any of my websites. For example, you can go to Zanna, Z-A-N-N-A art.com, zannaart.com, or zanna.us, okay? And you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. A real original recording. I put so much love and effort. The last at least 15 years, I recorded and produced more than 100 songs. And you can download, of course, the whole album, the whole CD, or get the physical CD, but with just 99 cents, you can support the show. And I appreciate it. If you do that, I really do appreciate it. It's like, it's a way for me to understand that you appreciate it, and it's like you offer me a very cheap coffee, and in this way, I can keep producing the show and trying to bring you more information and more deals in the best way I can. Now, as I was saying before, if you need to have some good quality training, I'm talking about training, not for self-defense, 9mm ammunitions, they're an incredible deal out there. Number one, the best I found this week, it's on targetsportsusa.com. Let me say, targetsportsusa.com. And we have a deal that I think is very good. It's Wolf ammunition from Russia, the classic military 9mm Luger, 115 grain, full metal jacket, steel case, not reloadable, of course, 1,000 round, free shipping, and $199.80. $199.80. And by the way, if you are probably outside their state, I don't even know which state they're located. Let me see there on the East Coast. So check it out. You don't even pay sale tax. Think how beautiful. You can get 1,000 rounds for less than $200, free shipping, no sale tax. So I think this is incredible. I really wanted to share with you. I thought something that you should know, because if you have a 9mm, the advantage of that, the ammo is still available. Of course, they're still affordable. And you can train in a way that pretty much, without touching your budget too much. Don't get me wrong. Whatever gun you choose, 45 or 40, try to find the money to perform, to practice. But 9mm, that's why I like it. Talking about 9mm, there has been a lot of debates out there, and now we'll talk, of course, also about some sort of this difference of opinions, not even opinions, about facts, which rifle should you get, an AK-47 or an AR-15. But before we go there, I would like to pretty much go now to this sort of topic that I'm sure if you go online, you can find thousands of articles and videos and whatever. I'll give you my very short version story. What is the best caliber you should have for your handgun? As I said many times, the best caliber is the one, first of all, that allows you to hit the target as fast as you can and as accurate as you can. That's the bottom line, I like to have somebody that, let's say if a woman or a person, older person, that maybe is able to hit a target in an accurate way and a fast way with a 22, I like to have that 22 in her hands or in that person's hands than to give her maybe a 44 Magnum that is going to pretty much miss in every round. So whatever caliber allows you to be accurate and faster than your adversary, that's your caliber, in my opinion. But in a situation that you should start to plan ahead right now, or at least start to figure it out, my opinion is that between the 40, 45, and 9mm, my favorite, in my humble opinion, it is the 9mm. And I'll articulate to you why, okay? And don't get me wrong, if you are a 1911 guy, you like 45, that's great. Probably you're very trained with that, and that works for you. I'll tell you my reasons. First of all, let's start with the basic thing. 9mm of today, talking about 2015, this is not more than 9mm of Luger World War II, okay, or whatever. They're pretty much full metal jacket and, not much cynetic, not much, you don't have much of expansion, and it's kind of course, what is very important is shot placement, okay? Because let me tell you, even with a 45 or any other handgun, handguns are less powerful than rifles. That's a fact. Normally you have a handgun because you will fight your way to your rifle. Okay, that's the bottom line. So don't expect that, like you see in the movies, because you have a handgun and you shoot an adversary, it's going to go down, boom, like cold turkey. It's not going to happen, Of course, some rounds are better than others, Some calibers are better than others. I think about that, bigger the round, bigger the hole, more trauma. So many people say the 45 is pretty much the best situation. My opinion, what I think now, especially with the new technology of 9mm, we're talking about defensive rounds that they expand in a different way. I like more the 9 more than the other calibers. First of all, everybody can shoot a 9. I believe that the recoil is much less. I believe less stress on your gun. And first of all, you have much more speed in a 9mm, especially high pressure round, than a 45. We're talking about a 45 normally. We're talking about speeds between 800 feet, 850 feet per second. 9mm high velocity, we're talking about over 1100, 1200 feet per second, okay? So we got much more penetration also in some situations. So let's say you have a barrier, like some object between. I think you got much more penetration with 9mm. What I like also, of course, is the fact that you have much more accuracy and less recoil, especially if you choose the right loads. That means also you can have much faster follow-up shots, okay? Because that's very important, The bottom line, guys, if you're going to get hit by a 40 or a 45 or a 9, you're going to hurt, okay? And the point is, whoever hit first is going to pretty much win half of the game. I say half because the game is never over, will never be over unless, you completely give up. So you don't want to give up. But the point is, I really believe the 9, especially today's new 9, are much more affordable. You got much more, available round. And this is not just me saying it. Also, the FBI lately come out with this sort of new testing, to try to figure it out if they want to keep the 40 caliber or switch to a new round. And the 9mm now is becoming and coming back big time. So what I'm saying, I say whatever caliber works for you, that's great, guys. But if I had to suggest the first gun, if you have more than one gun, yes, get them all. Get the 40, get the 45, and get the 9. That's why I like Glocks. They feel the same in my hands, and I have pretty much a gun for every caliber, because sometimes ammunition may be scarce, so you want to get all of them. But if I had to get one gun only, get your first gun, in my opinion, in 9mm. And also, let's not forget price. You're talking about almost 50% or more affordable rounds, 9mm, than you were buying, for example, a 45 or a 40. So I think that's very important, very important. So anyway, now let's talk about something else. I don't want to sound like, this 9mm drama is something that is going to be the main topic. Because after all, as I said, you are the weapon. You are the weapon. We can talk about 9mm, 40 and 45 all day long. It doesn't matter anything. If you don't have the right mindset to win the fight, if you have the right mindset to survive and win, more important, you don't want to just survive and defeat evil. So that's the most important caliber, in my opinion. It's your mind, because you are the weapon and the handgun is just an extension of your body. So enough said about calibers. Now, we were talking about another topic I wanted to talk. This is a little bit about today, gun talk. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. What is the best rifle between an AK-47 pattern rifle? We're talking about semi-automatic, of course, and an AR-15. That would be the civilian version, semi-automatic of AM-16. What is the best rifle? As I said before, or maybe at the beginning of the show, I'm sure I said that, there's like you going to a different occasion, a different event, you want to wear different shoes or different clothing. So in my opinion, you should have both. You should have an AR-15 at least, you should have an AK-47. And then, of course, we will go through now the details, what is best, what is the advantage of one and what is the don't of the other one, okay? First of all, let's start with the idea that they are the same concept rifle. They are rifles anyway that's supposed to be in some sort of between to fill the gap between the submachine gun. They used to be anyway always using normally ammunition from handgun, okay? So it was always a submachine gun was a type of tool, a weapon that was very good between, from 0 to, let's say, 60, 70, top 100 yards, okay? So when you have the type of, it's not a rifle, it's a submachine gun. They wanted to fill after World War II the type of gap between that and the military battle rifle. For example, let's say a Mosin Nagant or an M1 Garand or an M14. Talking about big round, big ammunition, typical battlefield rifle. So they both world, the Western world, America, and of course the Eastern Bloc, Russia, they created this sort of answer. The answer was the AR-15, M16, Mr. Stoner, the founder, the creator, was the M16 with different variations, of course. It came now to the civilian version is the AR-15. And of course then there is the AK-47. And with different variation, now we have also, of course, the AK-74, different caliber. But we stick with those two main rifles, the AK-47, chamber in 7.62x39, and the AR-15, chamber in 5.56 or 223 civilian version. Now, what is best? As I said, both. Both, they are great tools, okay? Depends on what you're using them for. Let's start, first of all, with the idea that ammunition, you never know what's going to happen, especially now in the new America under Obama. I mean, you think you're going to have access to every round you want? Maybe not. Look what's happening before with the 5.56, the M855, the steel core. Pretty much ATF were trying to ban them. And tomorrow they could ban even the regular 5.56. Who knows? Or even just the market, the federal government is buying billions of rounds, so price is going to go up. So you want always to have at least a little bit of variety. Like I say, with a handgun, I like my 9mm, but I also have my 40 and 45 because you shop around, you're always going to have different type of choices of ammunition calibers. So I say get both. You should get at least an AR-15 and at least a good AK-47. Now, ammunition, normally the 7.62x39, they're a little cheaper. As I said, you can still find, for example, I just got on Center Fire Systems a few days ago, 1,000 round for $229. Free shipping. There was a special for the free shipping. I couldn't say no. So I use this, of course, for the show and different purposes. But the point is, you get 7.62x39. Steel core, Russian full metal jacket. They work perfectly for less than $230. Not bad at all. Now, we go with the 5.56 or 223. If you get a steel core Russian, like I was saying before, for example, this brown bear, you're going to pay probably about, $260, $270, little more. Price went down. But the point is, there is a little variety of prices, of course. Now, let's talk first of all about the round itself, the ballistic. There are two different type of ammunition. They have two different type of purposes, okay? For example, first of all, the AR-15 rifle itself, it's more of a rifle. You have much more technology there, much more accuracy. Let's start, for example, with the rear sight. You have a peep sight, and the rifle is much more accurate, and it's created to be also in that way. Great. I mean, I think much better for marksmanship. And everything beyond 100 yards, definitely you can have an advantage. But remember also, though, the 5.56 or 223, it is also a round. Normally, it's pretty light. Even if you go with a 62 grain, pretty much now the standard. The original was the 555 grains. We're talking about, is it still a Vermont round? Yes, on flash, when you got a type of speed, especially if you have a long barrel, and you go above, the 2,500 feet per second, or at least you got the increased speed you must have. Guess what? You're going to have big damages, but the point is, the moment that you have some wind, or you have objects between, that round loses a lot of advantages, So I said there is some good things about the 5.56 or 223. First of all, you have less recoil, less weight. That means you can carry more ammo. At the same time, you also have the opportunity to be more accurate, especially when you start to go into beyond 100 yards. But at the same time, I'm telling you, unless you have some good ammunition, When you start to go above the 300 or 400 yards stop, wind with such a light bullet, you're going to start to have problems. And also you're going to start to lose the type of kinetic performance, that energy. Yes, you're going to still hit somebody, it's going to still hurt, but I wouldn't consider that my main round for self-defense. We're talking about now sticking with those two rifles. I'm not talking about going to my favorite rifle, the M14 or Chamberlain 7.62x51 or 308. So that's the point. So yes, the AR-15, great for a woman, great for a guy that wants to be light, and you can do good business with this, keeping away from you enemies, and be accurate, and still, great firepower. You got 30 rounds, and reliable if you keep it clean. Especially now, we're talking about the new generation. I'm not talking about the first M16. We have a lot more, but still less tolerant in the desert and environments where you must keep a little more clean than the average AK-47. Now, let's talk about AK-47. AK-47, let's say if you live on a farm, or let's say also if you are in a closed environment, okay? Let's say in a closed environment like also your household. That I'm not talking about you living in New York or living in some town that you live on top of each other. I'm talking about you living in the farm, you live with enough space that you know that in case you overpenetrate the walls, because you will overpenetrate walls with the 7.62x39, there is nothing behind, okay? There is no body behind. So that round, a close distance, when you have 123 grains against 62 grains of an AR-15, 123 grains or so of a 7.62x39, a type of power, I feel much more comfortable in a situation of close combat. So let's say between 100, from 0 to 150, 200 yard stop, I think that much more power. Yes, when you start to go over 150 to 100 yards, especially because you have a rear side that is different, it's going to be a little more complicated, at least to be sure that you got your shots accurate, okay? But remember something, just the fact that you have this rear sight, completely different technology. You have the rear sight of the AR-15 with the peep sight, that you can have much more accuracy there. Instead, you have an AK-47, it's a V, it's an open sight. So it takes a little more longer to practice, and you can still be accurate. I mean, I've seen people shooting AK-47, being accurate, shooting targets, I'm talking about not Olympionic little shooting. I'm talking about combat accuracy shooting. I'm talking about keeping your shots in 20 inches, okay, the size of a chest of an individual. I'm talking about that at 200 yards, even 300 yards. If you start to work a little bit with your drop of your bullet and you start to understand your rifle, you can be accurate enough, okay? So I like my AK-47. I don't like to bring them down. What I like about AK-47 also, of course, reliability. I live in the desert. I can carry my rifle even without cleaning it for a long time. It's always there. It always works. Sometimes it may be a little mushy and a little bit, gummy, but doesn't matter. Of course, I clean my rifles. I like to keep them clean, but the point is I don't have to clean my AK-47 like I have to clean, for example, let's say my AR-15 more often. So, and also, robust. AK-47, I can drop it. I don't like to drop my rifle, but you can drop it and carry it around. Doesn't matter. It's fine. AR-15, I need to watch a little more. But at the end of the day, as I said, you are the weapon, okay? No matter what you have, your heart, your mind, your mindset, your will to survive, your will to defeat evil, you are the weapon. And training, of course. Whatever you have, train with that. Now, magazines. Now, both weapons, both system, AK-47 or AR-15, they have incredible, variety of magazines. About AK-47, I like the great magazine, directly surplus, military surplus, from East Blocks, for example, steel magazine with a spine. They're the best. I like the steel magazine. But there is also Magpul coming out with this new interesting magazine made of polymer. They work great. I like them. Of course, when you have a magazine with AK-47, you must train a little more into this basic function of, let's say, reload, emergency reload or tactical reload. It is not exactly straightforward upward system like the AR-15. So For the emergency tactical reload, you need a little more practice with the K-47. AR-15 is the fastest reload system you have. It's just a straight upward. I like the ergonomics, of course, also the commands, you know. You got the release for your magazine, bottom release. It's great. I mean, it's a little more friendly when it comes down to ergonomics. But as I said, it's all question about practice. It's all question about how much you dedicate yourself to your weapon system. So I like both weapons. And, you know, I thought it would be nice now to play maybe a little bit of a segment that I found on Discovery Channel. I like to find shows like that. It gives you a little bit of just a perspective of what I've been talking so far. And, of course, also the fact of what system is better for you, you know. So think about it. If you can afford, try to get both rifles. If you think that you're going to be only one shot, one chance only, my opinion, depends who you are. If I were a woman or a person anyway that I'm a little lighter and I need to have a little more intimidated by the little extra recoil, I would get an AR-15. If I had to get one rifle only though, I must tell you my personal partisan, you know, kind of opinion about that, I would get an AK-47 because I know I don't need much of spare parts and it's going to be there, especially in a survival situation, it's going to be there for me pretty much forever. But, you know, don't forget also, you know, you're talking about something that the 55 grain or 62 grains of the 5.56 for the AR-15, you could not even legally hunt in many states. You know, you cannot get a deer with that type of round. I mean, yeah, if you hit in the right spot, it's going to die. But I'm not a hunter, but I know that in many states you must have a bigger bullet. That's not really a humane type of round. Instead, with a 7.62 by 39, you can start pretty much knock down every animal, almost every animal out there. Okay? So think about it. If you have a two legs animal, predator, I'd rather to have a 7.62 by 39 than a 5.56. Yes, it's going to hurt, but it's going to go down exactly. It's going to have the type of kinetic power to knock him down, especially when you're a close combat situation. What if he's hiding behind a brick wall? What if he's hiding behind a car? You know, 5.56 behind the brick wall, going to stop. 7.62 by 39 is going to go through all the way. And you can go out there on the internet, find pretty much any type of videos about that. About price-wise, there is not much more difference in prices now for the rifles. I show it to you today. I mean, I bought this AR-15 from Bushmaster for $450 with a rebate. Amazing. So, you know, AK-47 now, a decent one, you're talking about at least 550, 600 rounds. There are different types. Look around. But the bottom line is the price is almost the same. Magazine is the same. Ammunition, little more expensive on the 5.56 for the AR. AK is still a little cheaper, but the point almost the same even there. It's only a question of what you need it for. So get both rifles, get an AK, get an AR-15, get your gun. If I had to suggest you the first gun I would get a 9mm semi-auto. And my humble opinion, don't get mad. You know, if you like other guns, it's up to you. I don't care. But my humble opinion, if I had to get my first gun, one gun only for simplicity, reliability, and accuracy, and ergonomics, I like my Glock. So or get a Glock 17 or get a Glock 19. With those three tools, you'll be able to defend your castle, defend your person, and also defend our freedom. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. And now I will play a little bit of this segment from Discovery Channel, talking about a little bit about this AK-47 AR-15 drama that we've been talking, and then we go back to some more news and training. Okay? So don't go away. Here we go.
To fill the air with lead, the submachine gun was the weapon of choice. But unlike the rifle, hitting a target beyond 50 yards was more luck than judgment. The assault rifle, half machine gun and half rifle, was designed to do the job of both. Even the construction of the AK-47 and M16 revealed deep differences between East and West. In 1990, 7 years before his death, M16 designer Eugene Stoner gave a rare interview with AK-47 designer Mikhail Kalashnikov. In it, he recalls how U.S. demands for a super-light weapon forced him to make radical advances in the M16's construction.
That meant choosing lightweight materials right from the beginning. Aluminum in place of steel, fiberglass and construction in place of wood.
This is really space-age stuff. It's made out of plastic. It's made out of composite material, early composites. This is sort of space-age.
The Kalashnikov is a far more traditional gun.
The AK-47 is of rather conventional design, using common materials, steel and wood, and readily available machining technology. The parts are manufactured to less precision. From an engineering standpoint, it is a low-tech weapon.
This means that for automatic fire, the M16 is much easier to control than the AK-47. Slowed down 14,000 times, it's clear that the kick or recoil of the high-precision M16 moves it very little. Not the AK-47. It's throwing itself around. Look at the end of the barrel. It's clearly flexing up and down. One reason for this wobbly performance is the way it works.
What's happening when this is fired is, of course, the cycle rate's fairly high, and you've got a really big hunk of metal coming back, and it's slightly off-center. Not much, but slightly off-center. So this thing's coming back and then coming back forward, so you've got really two violent acts going on, and then if you have the round going off, you have a third violent act going on. The M16, on the other hand, this is a much smoother operating weapon. Consequently, the accuracy on this in full automatic fire is a lot better than is the AK.
We've come to Morris County, New Jersey. The Picatinny Arsenal is where the U.S. Army puts their small arms to the test. We've set up targets at about 200 yards. It's an easy distance for a decent rifle. First up is the M16. What we're looking for is grouping, how close the shots are to each other. Every shot strikes close to the heart, in the kill zone. Now, the AK-47. Only one of the 5 shots even tags the lower left edge of the paper. Not one strikes the kill zone. And it's clear from the design of the sights that the American weapon was designed to be more accurate from the very start.
The sights are very good. You have a little peep sight here in the back, okay, which you can use for short range. And what you could do is you can actually flip it forward, and if you look on the back, you can actually see an L. That's for long distance. In the front, you have just a post with what we call bunny ears, which flare out. And what you do is you center your post in the center of your rear sight, and you put it right on target, and you fire, and you should hit target.
The AK sight is very crude.
It's not as good as the peep sights that the Americans have been using since World War II. You take your front post and you line it up with the little notch right here, and the top of the front post and the top of this bar will be level. And you set your target right on top of those 3 points. This weapon really isn't meant to shoot out 400 meters. You've got to have really good ammunition, a good barrel, nice steady hand, a good eye, and no wind conditions to shoot out any distance like that. If you do hit somebody at that distance, it'll hurt, but you're not necessarily going to be able to do it every time.
Out in open terrain, that extra accuracy could give the M16 a decisive advantage. An easier machine gun, a more accurate rifle. The M16 uses a smaller, slimmer bullet. With far less recoil than the AK, the M16 gun can weigh barely 2/3 as much as the AK-47, which was exactly what the U.S. military wanted, as Eugene Stoner explained to AK-47 designer Mikhail Kalashnikov.
Basically, they wanted the lightest weight system that they could get. They wanted a weapon that would weigh 6 pounds, loaded with 20 rounds of ammunition. The weight was the driving emphasis on the whole design. In other words, there are a lot of things maybe you would like to do, but couldn't do because of the weight restraints.
The tiny bullet that Stoner came up with to save weight The M16 extra accuracy because it travels faster. Faster bullets are more accurate. In addition, this little round weighs half as much as a Kalashnikov's lump of lead, which gives the M16 another combat advantage: lightweight.
Lighter's always better. I mean, it is. Yeah, that's the bottom line, especially if you're the guy that has to carry it. The M16 round at 5.56 is a lighter, smaller round compared to the 7.62 that's used in the AK-47. What that means, really, is the capability to carry more rounds, which is what you need when you have an automatic weapon system, because you go through rounds fairly quickly.
I carried as much ammo as I could physically carry and run. Any place on my body, there was ammo. Ammo in my flak jacket, ammo in my pants, ammo in my ammo belt, any place. My greatest fear is that I would run out of ammo, and I was not going to let that happen.
To compete, AK-47 soldiers had to sacrifice everything, even food.
In a real combat situation, the soldier must not take an additional can of sardines, but an extra cartridge.
That gives the American M16 a powerful lead over the Soviet AK-47, with technical superiority in 3 key areas: range, accuracy, and weight.
Okay, and that was pretty much a little bit about extra information about the two different systems. Of course, they're talking there about M16 and AK-47 in full automatic. This is the military version. Civilians, unless you have a special, Class 3A permit and a lot of money, you're not going to have this full automatic or, the real assault weapon with the switch, that you can switch from semi to full auto, okay? So when they call assault weapon, these idiots out there, politicians or people who have no clue about what is assault weapon, we do not have an assault weapon. An AR-15, it is not an assault weapon. It is just a semi-auto rifle with the pattern of an assault weapon. And same for the AK-47. Now, I was talking before a little bit about speed. If I had to choose my AR-15, I like to do, especially if I have only one, to get the first one with a 20 inches barrel. Why? Don't get me wrong. If you got 16 inches barrel, you're fine, okay? Don't get stressed out. But if I had to choose to have one, when you have a 20 inches barrel, you're gonna get all the speed you need for that round to French, to tumble and to also pretty much disintegrate. It's a small round. It needs to somehow, it can't just go through. If it zips through the body, it doesn't have that type of speed, it doesn't tumble, or it does not fragment, you're not going to have enough damage into the tissues. So I like the 20 inches barrel, 62 grain combination, full metal jacket, or bow tail would be even better, full metal jacket, bow tail. If you go buy the ammo, it's called FMJ BT, okay, 62 grain. For training, 55 grains is fine, okay? Anyway, when you got 20 inches barrel, you can get with that type of round at least over 3,000 feet for seconds. And that's really important. The type of speed give you the type of energy you need. Now, AK-47, of course, we got slower bullet. So we're talking about less speed, but guess what? We're talking about full metal jacket, 122 grain for about 2,300 or 2,400 foot for seconds. Guess what? It's still devastating, especially because we have a bigger bullet. We have double the grains, okay? So, guys, it's all a question about what you're using it for, okay? Think about it. You go in the country and you're going for, let's say like where I live in rural Arizona, I go out and there are areas where there are like wild boars or hogs, okay? I don't like to kill them, but if they come close to me, yes, I'm not going to play game, and I'd rather to have an AK-47 with me, with a much bigger bullet, than to have an AR-15. After all, we're talking about big animals, okay? If they try to charge me, the 55 or 62 grain may pretty much, if I hit them at the right place, they're going to bring them down, but it may take longer. I know with the 7.62 by 39, the type of enough speed, and more important, double the grain, I have much more power to knock down an animal like that. So it depends what you're doing, okay? So that's pretty much my end of talk about this drama. They call it drama because, everybody gets so passionate about, oh, I like my AR-15, oh, I like my AK. I like everything, guys. I'm for everything. I'm for equal opportunity. I don't discriminate any rifle. All I'm saying, you are the weapon. Now, that's enough about that. So buy an AK, buy an AR, and if you find great deals, let me know, because I like to share with our friends, listeners. That's part of the show. Now, another important thing I like to talk, a little bit about training and a little bit about legislation. Of course, they don't stop, they don't stop. Politicians, doesn't matter, normally more on the Democratic side, but they're the same, Republicans, you think there is any difference between a McCain or a Schumer? They're both rats, okay, seriously. But let's put it in this way. There is one, I just was trying to relax a few days ago, having a little bit of time, Saturday afternoon last week. And I was tagged by my friend Frank Costigan, he's a great guy. I like Frank, even we don't agree on everything, but he's a great guy. I respect him a lot. And anyway, he sent me on Facebook this link about pretty much now that a politician, she's a congressman, I guess, and I'll tell you now more details. She started to try to pass a bill, sponsoring a bill that gun owners should carry insurance. So House bill would require gun owners to have liability insurance. You know what? Let me put it this way. First of all, let's find the name of this person. Democrat Representative Carolyn Maloney from New York. You know what? Stay in New York and give us a break and stay away. Because let me tell you why. Let's start with the logic, first of all. Gun.
Our air is cleaner.
Okay, we're starting right now. A gun. In this case, we're talking about the Second Amendment. It is not like we have a car, okay? Or some other things. Our Second Amendment, it's a right. Like it's a right, our First Amendment, okay? So let's put it in this way. The moment that you start to regulate with a license, or in this case with an insurance, maybe not everybody can afford, this is no more a right, okay? I say, you know what, maybe that's the mindset that you have, Representative Carolyn Maloney from New York, Democrat, if you want to really put, you're so concerned about people with guns, they should have an insurance. It's called, first of all, liability. It's called about being accountable for everything we have. That's why they're courts. That's why they're judges. They are lawyers. Okay. But I put it in this way. I'm also very concerned about your First Amendment because I'm a sensitive person, and as many sensitive person out there, they can be very offended or they can be very worried about some bad words or fancy. How many people died of bullying on the internet? Do you need to put also a liability also on this First Amendment? Do we have an insurance liability or liability insurance for the First Amendment? I'm telling you, I think more people are dying now because they're, this bully and all this stuff on Facebook. I'm being sarcastic, of course. We don't need an insurance for our Second Amendment. We don't need an insurance for our First Amendment. It's called Be Grown Up. We are free Americans, or at least we should be free. And the point, no, I will not tolerate any of this garbage, okay? So, dear Representative, what's your name? Carolyn Maloney, go to hell. Simple as that. Let me play this little segment since they were pretty much, talking about.
Has introduced a bill that would require gun owners to carry liability insurance. The Firearm Risk Protection Act would require gun buyers to have liability insurance coverage before being allowed to purchase a weapon. It would impose a fine of $10,000 if an owner is found not to have it. Service members and law enforcement officers, however, would be exempt from this requirement. This is the second time Maloney, who is one of the biggest gun control advocates in Congress, has introduced the legislation. A few weeks ago, she reintroduced legislation that would require sellers to obtain a background check for all guns sold at gun shows.
So you understand that. This is so, by the way, undemocratic. Let's say if you're a blue-collar person, if you are a poor person, working man, going paycheck by paycheck. Now we have this elitist piece of garbage of Representative Maloney pretty much tell you that if you cannot afford insurance, you cannot have a right of self-defense. You cannot have a gun. So that pretty much makes my case. This is so elitist, so wrong, and so unconstitutional. So that's just my humble opinion. Now, a little more about training. I want to go back. Before we go ahead, another deal I don't want to miss, you guys, because this is important. I found an incredible deal for you for your first gun. If you need a Glock, and you don't want to buy a new one, but you want to buy a used Glock, but great level, great quality. They are law enforcement rate. I found a website that I already know a long time, MississippiAutoArms.com, MississippiAutoArms.com. They have incredible Glock 22, Model 22, chambered in 40 caliber Smith & Wesson. They are law enforcement rate, but they are great, they're in great shape for $379. Come with 2 magazines. I got one of those time ago, and I'm telling you, they are really, really good, You can't beat the price. I mean, you can probably if you buy used somewhere, but I tell you, I like this company. You can get your FFL dealer. Normally, as I said, we had one on the show like a couple of weeks ago. Our friend from Kingman, John Graves. They charge you between $20 and $25 for transfers, and that's still very affordable. You don't pay a sale tax. You got a great gun. It's used, but still, I think that would be an incredible deal. You should look into that. So if you need a gun, a Glock, your own budget, you can buy with a credit card, of course, when you buy on their site, so you don't even need to pay altogether. $380 for a Glock, Generation 3, Model 22, 40 caliber. I think it's a good deal, in my opinion. That's the point. So now, first of all, a little bit about training. I had on the show here a few weeks ago, incredible, it is not just an instructor. For me, it's a personality. It's like almost one of the pioneers in the self-defense, science and art with weapons, okay? Chuck Taylor. And I promised I'm going to have him again. I talked to him a few days ago. He's now around the country training different type of organizations. But anyway, I like to read also magazines, and I have this magazine is called Tactical Training. And I found that he has an incredible article that he wrote about the tactical reload, okay? Tactical reload, people say, what is this tactical reload? Well, let me tell you very quickly because we're almost out of time. Tactical reload is the moment that you need to reload your gun with a full magazine in the low moment of a fight. It means you're not in the middle of the fight. You are in the moment of the fight is pretty much slowing down. It's slow. You're behind cover, and you think the fight is over, maybe, but you don't know if more rats are coming out. Maybe, remember, rats always walk in pack. So you think maybe you ended up your engagement, your adversary is down, and you say, okay, I'm fine. Guess what? How many rounds did you shoot really? You really think you're down. Maybe you're not. Maybe you have 2 rounds left. And what if there is, let's say, a new adversary or more adversaries coming out? Are you going to be able? Why should you not have the edge, the tactical edge, to have a completely top-off magazine? That's the idea of the tactical reload. So, to have reloading your gun. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm trying to interact between the radio and the internet. If you go to my new website, handguntraining.tv, I will show you a video that I'm pretty much recording today, and I will put it there for you. Handguntraining.tv, I will show a video exactly how to do a tactical reload with 2 different techniques. And this is one of the techniques that Chuck Taylor uses and created. So I think it's incredible. So it's so important. This is a technique to reload put your gun completely top off with a fresh magazine in less than 3.5 seconds. People say, wow, it's a lot of time. Yes, it is. But guess what? Try to do it. Try to do it when you're under stress. Try to do it when you have pretty much to do it correctly. 3.5 seconds, I will challenge anybody. If you don't train, if you don't do correctly the technique, you will not be able to do a tactical reload in less than 5 seconds. And I'll challenge everybody, and I hope we can do it together. So instead of doing it right now over the radio, that is going to be kind of a little more, you're driving probably. I don't want to distract you. It takes a little bit of your time. But on this website, it's free, handguntraining.tv. You will see today's blog, today's post. I will show how to do a tactical reload with a technique by Chuck Taylor, humbly reproduced by myself, Gianluca Zanna. Okay? Now, today was incredible information about the second hour, about guns. Ready for our number 3. Guess what? We're going to have our number 3. Normally I talk about love. Today I have a special guest that I really didn't want to postpone. His name is Dane-Wiginton, and we'll talk about something so important: weather modification, chemtrails, okay, what's happening to our sky, to our weather, and why it's so important. We must understand what's going on, because otherwise all this we're talking about is going to be a moot point. We're all going to be dead or sick or our Earth, is going to be completely out of control. By the way, I do not believe in global warming. But just because I have guests on my show that they believe in global warming or partially believe in global warming doesn't mean that I believe on everything with my guests okay? But I respect them, I let them talk, and I try to stick with the topics that we believe together, we agree on, okay? So don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Be ready with the next guest.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.FM network. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.FM network.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM and on United States.FM network. Every Sunday I try to bring you a special guest. The purpose is not to entertain, I tell you every time. But the purpose is to wake us up each other because I'm learning with you guys, okay? And the purpose to wake us up because this is not a movie. This is not a hobby. This is not entertainment. This is real life. And as I said at the beginning of the show, we are all in danger. And our next generation is going to be even worse than we are if we don't do something. I try to bring every type of angle. The point is, all the roads lead to Rome, and all these attempts to pretty much destroy our rights, they're coming from different angles. They're coming from the food, the GMO. They're coming from the legislation. They come from our gun rights. They're talking from all the different things we are talking about. But there is one thing that really comes to my heart, and I feel because it's so important. It is our health. If we're going to be dead, or if we're living in a planet that is pretty much going to be completely contaminated with pollutants created by the man, by design, maybe we don't know exactly which reason, we'll find out more now. What is the rest? What is the purpose? I'm talking about weather modification. We've been talking about this many times, this phenomenon called geoengineering, weather modification, aka, many people want to use chemtrails, fine. I know people may laugh at this term. Still, the point is experimenting with the weather by the government and also by private corporation. It is not a conspiracy. Now, why this is so important? Because I tell you, I learned this about probably 9 years ago, and slowly I realized this is probably one of the most important topics. And the reason why, because, guys, we're all going to be dead or very terminally ill and sick if we don't do something. And if people want to laugh at this, that's fine. I remind for the listeners in Mohave County that there were people just 50 years ago, they were called downwinders. They were laughing at them too. The government used to do experiments, but of course, never question the government. They're never going to hurt you. Everything's going to be fine. Trust your government. Guess what? These people, they're all dead right now. If they're not dead, they have cancer, and they're pretty much in some hospitals. I have today with me, I think, one of the pioneers in this movement to exposing geoengineering, weather modification, in America and around the world. And I really want to commend it because this show is also called Love, Guns, and Freedom. And, of course, freedom is the important thing, but also everything we are doing here is motivated by love. When you put so much effort in something that you understand the gravity, the danger, I consider that an act of love. Today I have with me a great guy. I really like him a lot. I learned a lot about him, and really I learned a lot through him. His name is Dane-Wiginton from California. Hi, Dane. How you there?
Hello, Luca. Thanks for your courage in addressing this dire issue and the rest of the issues you address. And you're correct that this issue is one we must deal with, or nothing else will matter soon.
Yeah, and as I said, I try to bring to the show different angles, every time different aspect, because I really believe that whoever is behind this agenda to pretty much enslave humanity, they're using different angles to do that, from the fluoridation in the water to the GMO food to the restriction to our rights and everything else. But this is something so important because whoever can manipulate the weather can pretty much manipulate us as cattle.
That's the first way I start to see it, you know. They're talking about right now climate change. Yes, I do believe in climate change. You know why? Because they're creating it. These individuals, these planners, global planners, they are playing with the weather around the world. Could be different reasons. Now we found out. But let's start first of all a little bit about you. Who is dane-wiginton?
Well, again, this is a battle. I state this often, but it's the case. I had never imagined I would be doing this for the last 12 years of my life. But when you understand the gravity of what's happening in our skies, and if you have any love for your children, as you stated, this is a battle of love in that regard. You have no choice but to engage in this fight. So having grown up in a very, very polluted, smoggy Southern California, I wanted to find clean skies, moved to the Pacific Northwest. Thought I would find them here. I live in an off-grid home, Luca. It's a full solar. I have hydro, I have wind, but when I started to lose huge amounts of my solar power from whatever these aircraft were emitting, clearly something was going on. I researched geoengineering, was astounded how much data there was that I had not heard, began to test my rain, found the same materials in the rain, named in climate engineering patents. It was very clear that this experimentation was going on without our knowledge or consent. So I was faced with no choice but to try to put my life on hold, which I did 12 years ago, and expose this issue. So again, it's not a battle I wanted, but I'm very grateful now that people like you, again, give us a voice in this issue. And bottom line is, life has to be about something, Luca. No matter how dark the horizon is, if we don't fight together for the common good against the most lethal threat we face, then...
Dane, I would like to say something. You know, there is a lot of people out there that they start to wake up, and of course, there is always going to be deniers, and that's fine. You know, at least we are not living still under the Pope, where like Bruno Giordano was pretty much burned alive. I know some of them, they would like to do that. But the point is, I always say, guys, you don't need to be a scientist. Of course, we need scientists, but to see that the planet, it is not flat, no, I don't need to. I need to have eyes at this point. When I see these planes crossing the sky in a pattern, crosses, and also the time, you know, we have days, for example, here in Mohave County, Arizona, with completely no planes, or maybe once in a while some regular plane. And then out of the blue, you start to see hundreds of planes. This is before even we go into the hard copy evidence. I like to bring facts to the show. I like to bring documents. I don't like to base my opinions on just opinions. I like to base my opinions on scientific facts, okay? So my goal is here, first of all, to try to reach out people that they're still maybe unaware of this geoengineering, weather modification / chemtrails drama, and they want to have an open mind to at least to start to investigate the facts that you will provide, we will provide. And as I said, this is just the beginning. It's like a little journey, and then it's up to you, listener, when you want to stop, where you want to stop. But the evidence is out there. Then there is another little bit part of the audience that they're just the deniers. No matter what you bring, even if you put the elephant in the room, they're going to still deny it. And at that point, you know what? I have no more patience for that. I know some of them, they're just, unfortunately, part of the problem. Also, some of them, they are paid trolls. And also some of them, they are part of the psychological mindset of humanity. I understand that. I'm not trying to bring you down, guys. That you cannot face the truth. Because the moment that you face the truth, you know that the truth hurts and you have to do something to provide. Not everybody has the courage to start to admit that there is a problem, because after they need to take action. Now, Dane, let's start with the basic fact and science. This weather modification, if I am just somebody that time, say, what are you talking about, Dane? I have an open mind, but I think you're kind of cuckoo out there. I have no clue what you're talking. Please, give me some information. I'm here. How can you prove that weather modification is real and why it's so dangerous?
First, let's start with semantics. It's very important when people look at this issue, or if you're trying to get someone else to investigate it, Luca, that they use the science terms. And that's why I try hard to stay away from the chemtrails term, because if people search that online, they come straight to conspiracy theory, hoax, by design. Mm-hmm. So if we stick to the science terms, climate engineering, geoengineering, solar radiation management, those are science terms that will lead people to science, so they can't marginalize you. The type of deniers that you said, or you outlined, definitely those people use any excuse they can to not face the truth, as you correctly stated. So always pass on the science terms. As far as what this is, in a nutshell, this is the deliberate manipulation of the Earth's climate system. Those who have been trained to believe or chosen to believe that you can't affect the climate, that's absolute nonsense. Scientific fact, the climate is very, very malleable. Even single volcanic eruptions, Luca, like Mount Pinatubo in 1992, had a huge effect on the climate, that one single eruption. So what happens when you put literally thousands of jets in the air every day that are spewing out light reflecting materials? And this is the point and the purpose with solar radiation management. This is the stated purpose, to reflect some of the sun's incoming thermal energy. So it's to block the sun. That's exactly what got me onto this issue, as I mentioned earlier, because the sun was being blocked to a huge degree from my solar panels. What happens to the Earth's light support system? A lot of bad things. Shreds ozone, disrupts the rain cycle, hydrological cycle. It's contaminating everything. There's not much bad this doesn't do. And again, everything they put up there, Luca, comes down and we're all breathing it. And it's not conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy fact, as you correctly stated. And what's the best proof we have for this? We have, on top of the other mountain of proof, we have film footage of these tankers spraying at altitude with the nozzles visible, turning on and off. We have film footage of the crime occurring. Into the argument.
Okay, this is very important. I want to play today the devil's advocate, okay? So you said that there is this weather-modification, solar radiation management, fine. I will start to look into that. Now, when you say they, I mean, this is not just happening here in Arizona, Mohave County. This is happening almost all over the world, besides a few exceptions of countries. First of all, who are they? Who decided to pretty much invest such a big amount of resources and also start to do it without even our consent? Because after all, we as the people, as citizens, we should know what's going on, especially because, as you said, whatever goes in the sky is going to come back, and this is not exactly they're spraying vitamins. These are chemical agents, and we're going to breathe them and eat them. And we should be informed, at least, if we agree with that. So who are they? The governments, corporations, United Nations? Who is behind?
You have a lot of people behind this. Basically, you have a global power structure. We have what appears to be the NATO powers on one side in regards to the weather warfare happening around the globe, and that's all you can call it. Weather manipulation is weather warfare and biological warfare. You can't separate the two because we have to breathe what they spray. So you have the NATO powers on one side of the fence, you have China, Russia on the other, smaller countries that perhaps voice their discontent with these programs are crushed. It appeared at one point Ireland was pushing back against these programs, and they were the first ones to be economically crushed. It appeared Mexico was pushing back at one point. That's right before the whole swine flu thing happened in Mexico. So we know what the power structure does to countries who don't want to go along. They're crushed one way or the other. So again, you have the core global power structure, which is the bankers, those who print the money, those who can fund anything they want. Ultimately, as you said, all roads lead to Rome. Rome is the central bankers.
Yes, and this is my humble opinion according to facts. I start to see that there is more than one reason why they're doing it, and there is probably more than one entity, but they're following all pretty much a global plan. There is, for sure, in my opinion, some sort of a centralized committee that pretty much they all agree in this plan of action. And I can think at this point that the United Nations may have part of it. What do you think?
Well, certainly they're part of it because they're a mechanism of the power structure as well. So we know in the case of the United Nations, if it's needed for something as a tool, the Western power structure supports it. If the United Nations does something that the Western power structure doesn't like, then they marginalize them. But any way you look at it, the United Nations, like all other countries around the globe, are beaten into submission, no matter what, by the same core power structure. So there is certainly, we live in a country, Luca, where I would argue we don't have a government or a country with a government, rather. We have a government with a country. We have what amounts to various criminal cabals that legitimize themselves by being the official government of countries. But It's quite simply mafia families around the globe that run the world, and I would argue they're starting to fight as the climate system is starting to disintegrate. And this is a factor where people need to understand if we're going to gain credibility in exposing this issue, people need to stand on hard, credible, factual data. It's not about Al Gore. It's not about carbon credits. It's about reality. The planet has been horrifically damaged. There are many forms of this damage. Climate engineering appears to be mathematically the biggest of all, as you correctly stated, but it's not the only source. So the bottom line is climate engineering is making a bad situation exponentially worse. Luca, this would be like, for example, if you had some sort of ailment, some physical ailment, and you took a pharmaceutical for that, and that pharmaceutical made that problem exponentially worse.
Mm-hmm.
That's the scenario we have. It doesn't mean you didn't have the problem to begin with, but it means that this situation is, again, it can only harm, hurting the Earth's natural processes can only harm that. But what we have right now, regardless of what a person wants to consider the causes, we have a planet that is not just warming, it's in meltdown. And again, even if you want to focus on climate engineering as a sole cause, which again, we should consider the fact we put any form of human activity is a form of geoengineering. So if we cut down the forests, that's a form of geoengineering. If we put 100 million tons of carbon in the atmosphere a day, that's a form of geoengineering. But the planet would have responded much better if not for geoengineering. As we put more carbon into the air, the forests would have absorbed that. It's a stimulant for the forest. It would have been raining more, not less, which stimulates the forest, which causes the forest to start uptaking carbon. It causes the forest to respond to the damage done. Because of climate engineering, that hasn't happened. So now the forest, instead of responding again to the damage done to the increased carbon and starting to thrive more, now the forests are dying because the UV is off the charts. We know climate engineering is shredding the ozone layer, so the UV is off the charts. It's cutting off rainfall. There's bioavailable metals in the rain, which are killing root systems and soil microbes. So again, it's a complex equation, but the bottom line is, with climate engineering, back to the power structure that you mentioned, it's the single greatest covert weapon they have, and they're using it all over the globe.
Okay, this is my, this point after a few years to try to analyze all the data. More important, there's documents, because people, all I say, if you want to look at this weather modification, geoengineering, it is all on the open. There are documents that dated many, many years, 20 years, at least 30 years. I found a document from the 70s directly from the, Committee on Commerce, Science and Transportation, United States Senate. It's 700 pages exactly about called weather modification programs, problems, policy, and potential dangers. So it's all out there. And by the way, I would like to, if you go to today's show, I will repost these links with directly the PDF files of all this information. Now, what I'm seeing here, because I always try to see cui bono, who is going to benefit out of this, why they're doing that. I mean, this is a lot of effort. We're talking about trillions of dollars in the long terms of investment of our tax dollar, probably. That's the way they get paid, these bastards. And why they're doing this. I mean, could be who manipulates the weather pretty much can also give us the orders how to relocate in a more subdued way. I mean, after all, we know very well about Agenda 21. It's a fact. It's out there. It's a document. It's been proven now mainstream. Agenda 21, they want to pretty much decide, the globalists, where we're supposed to live in these huge, big cities, and all the rest of the many parts of the country, especially in the country area, we're supposed to be gone. And you know very well, if they can control the water, and we have no more water to live and thrive and grow food, we're all going to be moving, with or without their push. And that's, for me, one of the first things I start to believe, that they're using the weather as a weapon to create this sort of mass migration to implement Agenda 21. What do you think about this?
I think you're exactly right. There's no question that that's a huge aspect of what's going on. In fact, to back up to the documents you mentioned earlier, another document your listeners can find very easily online if they search 1966 government document geoengineering. They'll find another presidential document, 80 pages long. That's a very, very big piece of evidence as well. In regard to, again, controlling the weather to control populations, there is absolutely no question. These programs are about power and control. There's no benevolence in this at all, even though it's sold as, quote, solar radiation management, as mitigation for global warming. We have enough data, 6.5 decades, to know that what they're doing is making the situation far worse, not better. Any particle, and this is, Luca, you went back to the experts, that people are starting to ignore their own sense of reason because they think the experts know the answers or would tell them the truth, neither of which is true. So let's think logically. When you put a particle in the atmosphere to block some of the sun's incoming thermal radiation, that particle also traps heat. There's no question about that. So we now know from NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that these upper-level particulate clouds are trapping a great deal of heat on the planet. They're shredding the ozone layer, disrupting the hydrological cycle, so the negative effects astronomically outweigh anything that we're being told is a positive effect. So again, yes, back to power and control. But there's also, Luca, at this point, I would argue there is another component to this, that and they're manipulating the weather, and they're causing, for example, the record snow in Boston, which is about all the media focused on, and that should be a big red flag. When you have the power structure-controlled media like Weather Channel, Weather Central, Weather Underground, all power structure-owned corporations, Rothschilds, Bain Capital, Blackstone, they tried to push only the headlines about the record snow in Boston. They didn't talk about Siberia burning to the ground, Australia burning to the ground, Tasmania, New Zealand, the U.S. West. They talked about the record snow in Boston. So there is a big aspect of psychological manipulation here, trying to create a certain perception, especially with the U.S. population, the majority of which lives in the eastern half of the U.S., which is the most anomalously cold place in the planet Earth for the last 2 years, completely engineered. And so there's a damage control aspect, as they have done horrific damage to the climate with climate engineering. Now there's an attempt to hide that till the last possible moment, to confuse and divide the population while they're digging in. And Luca, you remember the chemical Corexit used in the Gulf oil spill? Did you ever hear of that chemical?
Yes, it was a disaster. I mean, it was very, very, a lot of side effects had.
Yes. But so we have environmental impact reports on that chemical Corexit, which certainly that name doesn't fit the material that's banned around the globe. That chemical that they used to hide the oil, to make it sink, made that situation, by environmental impact reports, 52 times more toxic. But they used the chemical anyway. Why? To hide the problem. And again, the same is true in a certain aspect with climate engineering. As they've played God with the weather for 6.5 decades, they've helped to contribute so much damage on top of a lot of other damage done from a lot of other sources. But they've contributed to that so much. Now they're simply trying to hide it while they're literally digging in and stocking up bunkers underground. That's exactly what they're doing. And the walls are closing in. Operation Jade Helm that's coming on. This is what I would argue, Luca. There are things that are so dire and so immediate related to the collapse of our biosphere, including the collapse of the ocean marine systems. There's so many aspects of our biosphere collapsing right now. They know they can't hide that much longer. When they can't hide that, then they can't hide climate engineering. Once they can't hide climate engineering, the entire population of the globe knows they've been systematically poisoned. All hell's going to break loose, and they're preparing for that.
Yeah, this is exactly where I want to go. At this point, let's talk all the way down, straight, call me extreme, whatever. I tell you exactly all the way I think on this one. According to the facts and evidence, this is a science. I mean, at least it's used as a scientific tool by the governments of the world, and we know very well that every government pretty much in the Western world is controlled by private central bank. That's the bottom line. I mean, the Federal Reserve is not federal, it's private. And so all the Bank of Italy and the Bank of England, they're all centralized banks. Pretty much they also have admitted, David Rockefeller said, they are dreaming of a world where pretty much an elite of bankers. This is directly from, I'm just paraphrasing it, from memoirs by David Rockefeller. They pretty much said that, he's dreaming and he's responsible and he's guilty and he's proud to be guilty to be one of the architects of this global government. And we're in this global government. Who is behind to control everything? The bankers. Now, the goal is also to reduce the population. This is nothing new. I mean, look at Bill Gates. He said that on the open lately. They are the George Guidestones that people can just go there and check them out, Google them up. They want to reduce drastically the population. The United Nations has been saying that on the open. Many of the different bureaucrats, or let's say elite of these United Nations, they've been professing this goal, to reduce the population. I'm not talking about to just stop it, to reduce it. Now, start to create this warfare with the weather. Pretty much they can reduce the water where they want, and also, start to stop the food production. That's very important. And also there is another aspect. The most people say, it can be possible. This is so big, not even Hitler did that in such a huge scale, talking about world scale. They are mass murdering us with these chemicals pretty much coming down from the sky. This is a fact. I don't care if people say, this is just for a good cause. You're using, let's say, silver iodide to try to modify the weather. After all, they have a good reason. Guess what, guys? Silver iodide, and you correct me if I'm wrong, please, Dane, it is something that is not exactly like vitamin B for your body. It's a chemical. It's a carcinogenic. In high quantities can be very dangerous. And just because some EPA website tells you what is the number, the limit that is good or is bad, do you really trust them? How much really you're breathing? So there is the point that the final goal is to reduce the population, one of the aspects. The other one is to make a buck, because now Monsanto, correct me if I'm wrong, they already have some new seeds that pretty much they are resistant to some of these pollutants like aluminum. And meanwhile, I've been doing an experiment in my little food production here in Mohave County. I have a little greenhouse and I grow my own vegetables. Every time I try to grow, for example, organic zucchini, and I put them in the same vase with the same soil, same water, same sky, same air, and I try to put next to the organic zucchini the GMO zucchini that I don't touch, I just do an experiment. The GMO zucchini, they grow huge. The organic zucchini, zero, just the flower. What do you think about this extreme statement? They're killing us, mass murdering us. What do you think?
They absolutely are. And again, to go back to statistical fact on trying to even begin to quantify the amount of mortality, human mortality, already caused by these programs, we know we have autism has gone up 10,000% in the last 39 years. It's gone from 1 in 5,000 to 1 in 47. That's over a 10,000% increase. Now we're getting statistics from MIT saying that in the next 10 years, and from a biosphere standpoint, we don't have 10 years if we stay on this track, but in the next 10 years, 1 out of 2 children will have autism. Respiratory mortality in the continental U.S. from 2010 to 2005 went from 8th on the list of mortality to 3rd. We think it may be in 2nd now, and the CDC is trying to hide that. The 2nd greatest source of mortality, respiratory death. So, again, the amount of human death that these programs have directly contributed to already could never be quantified. Now, in regard to the silver iodide, those are materials used in private weather mod programs. Mm-hmm. The geoengineers are using quantities that are in much greater abundance. Yeah. Aluminum, barium, strontium. We think that perhaps even coal fly ash may be a base material that they're spraying. It's highly toxic. Wow. But we're talking about, Luca, stated on the record by geoengineers, an annual goal of 20 million tons of aluminum nanoparticulates to be sprayed into the atmosphere. 20 million tons. That's about 1,000 flights a day with the fully loaded military tanker carrying 60 to 70 tons per flight. It's an unimaginable amount of material. As far as the soil sterilization goes, what you mentioned, of course, these particles kill soil microbes. That sterilizes soil. It's bioavailable. It changes pH values. It's sterilizing soils around the globe. Monsanto is trying to profit from that. It's like a ship sinking and the pirates trying to fill their pockets as the ship goes down. You have disaster capitalists, but the bigger picture is much bigger, as you stated. This is affecting our health, affecting our cognitive ability. You can't separate this from population control. That's exactly what's happening. But you also have, again, what they've done to the climate, what they've damaged. We have massive methane release occurring in the Arctic that climate engineering has helped to trigger. They've helped to cause this damage to the planet. So now you have some other factors in the equation that I don't think the power structure bargained for. So now you have a very complex situation that they're trying to hide as long as they can.
Exactly. Let's put it in this way. Think about it. We are cows, and these are our masters. Before they put us into the slaughterhouse, they want to milk us as much as they can. So not only they're going to use our tax dollar to fund this through different budgets, probably hidden. I don't even know exactly how they came at the point where they're getting this money, but for sure it's our tax dollar. Even they print money out of thin air. And the point is there are a lot of holes, black holes, this sort of, how they call these black budgets, for example, missing billions or trillions of dollars in the Pentagon, CIA. There's a lot of things where they can find the budgeting. But more important, what they're doing this on the way to the final goal, because we're all going to be sick and ill. And many of us, we're already contaminated. I remember like 4 years ago when with some other residents here in Mohave County, we decided to do some blood tests to see exactly why we feel so tired, why we see the symptoms of almost poisoning from metals. And we found out that 90% of us came back with the levels of barium and also aluminum skyrocket. This is according to a medical doctor, was not just our opinion. Okay? And more important, the debunkers start to say, oh, you live in a mining area. Guess what? First of all, barium, it wasn't just from Mohave County, it was also from Bullhead, it was also from Phoenix, it was also from Texas. Our group was kind of spread out, and we do not drink the same water, we do not eat the same food. Only thing we had the same, pretty much, sky. We've been in the same sky. But the sad thing is, after we bring this evidence to our state legislators, and we ask for a real investigation from, at least in Arizona, from ADEQ, all they do, they bring some lawyers at the meeting with Senator Ward. They don't even bother to try to bring some scientists to analyze the soil, because we brought evidence. Some of us, they're already contaminated, and probably many of us, the people that didn't test yet, maybe they're not aware. So all I'm saying, this is something real, guys. And if people don't believe that government can do this to us with our consent, there is a document that I will post again. I already posted it a few times. How many times in the last 80 years that we have declassified facts that the U.S. government, this is just for the U.S. government, many other governments, they're doing the same, they've been testing on U.S. population without our consent. And I'm talking about serious stuff, radiological, radioactive, biological. So what do you think about that? People say, our government will never do that. Stop it. You're not a good patriot.
It's the most uninformed, naive notion that a person could possibly have. How many examples do we need of our government testing on us when we have our own soldiers standing out there with goggles on, being told that they're safe watching the nuclear explosion? Just put these goggles on, you'll be fine. As you mentioned in the beginning of the show, and how many of those people are already dead. What about depleted uranium? What we use in our own ammunition, radioactive waste in our own ammunition. If people who don't know about this should look into it. Gulf War syndrome, 180,000 of our troops sick and dead from exposure to our own radioactive ammunition. Agent Orange, how many of our troops died from that? How many people in Vietnam have died from that? Innocent civilians in the actual biological testing that has occurred in our country with no one's knowledge or consent. There is no question this is going on. In regard to the spraying, Luca, and back to our current situation, on top of all these examples that we've already just covered, we know this material is coming from the air. We have the lab test to prove it. We have some 70 lab tests in Northern California alone. We know it's not coming from China, as a lot of people try to make themselves believe. These metals don't float across oceans. They have a much faster descent time. We know this. So we know the material's there. We know it matches climate engineering patents. We know what's being sprayed in the skies is not a condensation trail. And I challenge anyone, any of your listeners, if you've bought the condensation trail lie, go to geoengineeringwatch.org, scroll down the center, and watch the high bypass turbofan jet engine tutorial. The engines on all military tankers and all commercial aircraft are high bypass turbofan jet engines. It's a jet-powered fan. 85% of the air that moves through that engine is non-combusted. We should see exactly nothing behind commercial aircraft and military tankers, except under the most extreme conditions, which typically don't exist unless you're at the far, far north latitudes. Because when you move higher up in altitude, Luca, humidity drops radically. You do not have the conditions necessary to form a condensation trail, almost never, and especially not with that engine. So the bottom line is, we know the spraying is going on. We have film footage of it happening. We have a lab test to prove it. We have human tests, as you mentioned. We have tests in Northern California, Luca, with the same results. There is absolutely, positively no question this is going on. There's no theory about any of this. So, and again, you mentioned something earlier, Luca, if I could back up. And
go ahead, please.
You mentioned about the Bill Gates, the population control. Let's take this into one more aspect. Geoengineering is used as a tool to, again, hammer countries to the ground, to allow U.S. occupation. It's also used to justify mass vaccinations. If people investigate this, and we'll be doing a post on this in geoengineeringwatch.org soon, every single country that gets hit with a mass weather cataclysm that absolutely has engineered written all over it, mass vaccinations immediately follow. It's happening right now in places of Asia. It happened after the cyclone Haiyan hit the Philippines, which, again, that cyclone appeared to be strengthened radically before it made landfall. Mass vaccinations are immediately forced on the populations, just like they're about to try to force them on certain U.S. citizens. This is all connected. So when you have the toxic metals that are in the vaccinations, for example, the mercury, and now we have aluminum, which is a primary element in climate engineering. Stated goal, again, to dump 20 million tons of aluminum nanoparticles into the sky annually. So now we have mercury in us, again, from vaccinations also, and fillings, and breathing coal-fired power plant waste. But now we combine that with aluminum. The synergistic toxicity between those two metals can increase the overall toxicity as much as, again, 10,000%. And that's an actual figure. I'm not pulling that out of a hat. We have lab tests that show enough mercury to kill 1 in 100 lab rats mixed with enough aluminum to kill 1 in 100 lab rats. When you combine the two, all the rats die. That's a 10,000% increase. So again, we're talking about a very lethal brew. They have many, many other layers to what they're doing. Weather warfare, triggering mass vaccination. There are so many layers to this onion, Luca.
Yeah, this is the point. I understand for people that they're just waking up to this, maybe they say, we are a bunch of crazy people. What are you talking about, guys? Go take a drink. Guess what, guys? I wish it was true. I'm doing this on Sunday. I have many things to do. And if I wasn't sure what I'm saying is backed by facts and science and evidence, I wouldn't do it. At the beginning of the show, I put a little new logo. Our lives are in danger. This is true. This is not some dramatic phrase I try to throw out there to get some attention. I don't really care if you listen to the show or not at the end of the day. My life goes on anyway. I'm doing this as an act of love. And I know what I'm saying, unfortunately, is backed by facts. We're all in danger. And back into the facts, if people don't believe at this evidence, I cannot have, in this hour, whatever time we have, I cannot bring you everything, but I can give you some keywords you should start to look. Eco-Science by John Holdren. This is czar of science that pretty much now is sitting at the White House paid by our tax dollar. I don't even think Hitler as such a person working for the state or for the government at the time in Germany. They pretty much put in writing in the 70s that pretty much we must reduce the population. They want us or not, we through different time of means, try different tools. Forced castration, chemicals in the water, forced abortion, a license to see how many children you can have. This stuff, it's ridiculous even to talk about. Imagine when somebody put it in writing, 750 pages book. Eco-Science, John P. Holdren. Are you familiar with that, Dane?
Well, as far as Holdren and his call for the climate engineering to be done, I mean, this is where, again, if people simply look at the data, the dots we have, when you have the top U.S. military commanders stating disintegrating climate, and again, much of that fueled by climate engineering itself, when you have them stating the disintegrating climate is the greatest national security threat of all, when you have Obama stating the same thing, greatest threat we face of all, when you have John Holdren, Obama's science advisor, stating the same thing, who in the world could possibly believe that they're not going to do this, that they're not going to engage in this weather/biological warfare? And in regard to the effect that we're seeing even from some of the troops and population in some zones that we know have been sprayed the hardest, the fertility rates are dropping like a stone, Luca.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, guys, I told you many times, it's a problem, reaction, solution. I mean, the bottom line is they want to tax us for every breath of air we get, okay? They want to tax just because we exist. It's called the carbon tax on humans. It's pretty much scary to think about. And the funny thing, think about it. Like almost the time of the Pope, during the Borgias, that if you want to go to heaven, pay your fee to the Pope and you will go to heaven. So now they think that they first created the problem. I really believe, now global warming, it's real. This climate change, it's real. You know why? Because they created it, or at least they accelerated it. And the fact now they have the solution. We must submit to this global government, that we must pretty much force ourselves to live like little slaves. We must pay for the air we breathe. It's called the carbon tax. And if you like meat, of course, it's going to be also an extra tax, because after all, the cows fart and create more pollution. Guess what, guys? This is the part of the plan. And there are many aspects, there are many different conclusions, there are probably different reasons. And I invite you, every one of you, first of all, to research the facts, that this is real. They will start to mention this as some sort of, weather modification. Oh, yeah, we've been talking about that for years. Guess what? Exactly what we're talking. Because you said something very important. Now, the different type of defense system they have, after you do not mention anymore the word chemtrails, but you call it weather modification, geoengineering, they say, oh yeah, this is true, we've been doing that. I noticed that, for example, all these different trolls, that most of them, they are government-paid trolls, on my YouTube channel, after we start to address this in the right terms, they start to admit, oh yeah, what's your problem? Weather modification is nothing bad. Guess what? It's the same. They're still playing gods, and they're using chemicals and different things that we have no idea. Because, Dane, you said, the barium, the aluminum, fine. But only God knows if they're not even using some biological or maybe nanotechnology. We don't know. How can we know? After all, we are here down there, and they're up there, and they could tomorrow morning, for what I know, spray cyanide. And we'll never find out. We're all dead anyway. So, we have no idea.
On that point, Luca, to elaborate on what you just said. Now, we know, again, in addition to, it's important to use the science terms because it leads, as you stated, to hard science data so people realize this is a credible issue. But there is much, much more than just a manipulation of the climate for weather warfare. We know the ionization of the atmosphere for electromagnetic weapons, DARPA weapons. This is part of how they manipulate the atmosphere as well with the ionosphere heaters, which is installations like HARP. Many of your listeners might know what HARP is. But at minimum, we know we're not just talking about genocide or ecocide. We're talking about omnicide, killing everything. So when we have, at minimum, at absolute minimum, we have a very, very toxic, lethal brew. The heavy metals that we have confirmed with too many lab tests to even begin to go into, we know that is a lethal mix in the end by itself. But since the spraying apparatus is already there, and this is a tool that the power structure will use to whatever degree they want, if they reach a point where they are desperate enough, and I would argue that point is very near, at any point in time, if they change the mix, it's game over for all of us immediately.
We'll never find out. We wake up in the morning, we are probably, if you believe in heaven or somewhere else, not anymore on planet Earth. That's the bottom line. Now, question. I'm trying to play devil's advocate because I understand that there's some questions that would be pretty legitimate, And I had this question too before I came to my conclusion, but I would like to know your feedback. Question. Why they're doing this? After all, this elite or these, let's say, responsible, they still live on planet Earth. And maybe they have children, and maybe they are breathing the same. No, maybe they are breathing the same air. I guess. Why? What's happening with them? I mean, are they crazy? Are they ready to kill themselves too for their incredible, evil goal to reduce population?
I would give multiple answers to that. One, we're not dealing with sanity, and that's a statistical fact. We know that 4% of the population is clinically psychopathic. Those people end up in positions of power, and we know that type of mental disorder has a very big blind spot, and that is a near total lack of comprehension as to the consequences of their actions, even to themselves. So we're not dealing with sanity. And again, we have, how much proof of that do we have? We have Fukushima right now that, again, we have 3, maybe 4 reactors in full-blown meltdown. That one facility may kill us all, and they're building 30 more right now. So we have too many examples of what the clinically insane do. 2, when you have an industrialized military complex that exists for its own proliferation, it's like a cancer that will kill it. It kills its host not because it intends to necessarily, but because its only goal is to expand. Its only conscious, objective is to expand. So we have that aspect of it. Now we have this, again, as I mentioned earlier. I believe the power structure, in their arrogance and insanity, thought that they could actually play God with the weather indefinitely without consequence. Now we know that's not true. We know they know that's not true. They know the methane is spewing from the Arctic. Again, Luca, there's enough methane on the Arctic floor, on the East Laptev Sea, to produce a Permian-style mass extinction 100 times over. There's enough methane there to turn this planet into Venus, and it's not the cows.
Wow.
As you correctly stated, when they start blaming things on cow flatulence, that is absolutely ridiculous. It's methane that's buried in the strata that's the problem. Climate engineering has helped to trigger these releases. It's what we've seen in the Bermuda Triangle for how many years? The sinkings in the Bermuda Triangle are methane releases from the seafloor. It aerates the water like a bottle of champagne, and ships go down intact. Kills plane engines. That's methane has been releasing for decades, but now it's on a scale that's horrific in the Arctic. So again, to answer in all three ways, power and control knows no boundaries. Addicts kill themselves because they can't stop their habit. It's a cancer that's taking over. It only lives for its own proliferation regardless of the consequences. And three, they have triggered things now that can't be turned off. So the only thing they know how to do is to do more of what they've been doing in an attempt to hide it, like the correction in the Gulf of Mexico. So I would give all three of those answers.
I have a message for all the environmentalists out there, and I'm so disappointed with you guys, sometimes trying to almost put a Band-Aid on a finger while you see that the rest of the body is pretty much terminally ill or has a cancer. Where are you guys? All the people that they're supposed to, save the planet and the trees and the birds. I'm all with you. I love nature and the stuff. But at the same time, we are facing, you are a bunch of hypocrites. Let me tell you why. Because I don't see any of this big organization really understanding that, first of all, what they're doing to us, these globalists, it's so huge. Bigger than just saving a jumping rat in the middle of the desert or try to stop people to enjoy a trail. Let's talking about, first of all, you never talk about GMO, really. You never really, I'm not saying everybody, but look at Obama, what he just has done the last year, pretty much giving carte blanche of immunity to Monsanto, okay? It's completely power grab. And you don't talk about fluoride in the water, the way they're pretty much forcibly medicating us and killing us with this chemical in the water. But more important, if you really care about the environment, why don't you open your mouth and start to really address this huge impact on our environment, in our bodies, on our health of these airplanes? Even these airplanes that were just flying back and forth just because they're crazy, doing crosses and X's and stars and funny geometrical patterns above our skies. All these pollutants, is JPL, by the way, this jet propellant, it's toxic. When you have such an amount of quantity out there, even just the residual of this pollution is destroying the atmosphere, the ozone. I mean, this is the scary thing. This organization is supposed to be environmentalists. They are the first one to stay silent. Why?
On that note, Luca, I consider myself an environmentalist in the true sense of the word, and I feel exactly the same disgust, and I can't put another word on it, with the environmental community as a whole. They have been the hardest to reach in this equation of all, and I have tried. I have been up and down the California coast where many environmental encampments are, if you will. I spent 2 weeks ago a meeting with editors from some of the environmental newspapers. One was Eco News, who didn't want my data on geoengineering, and I can't leave an office like that. It's not acceptable to me that he calls himself an environmentalist.
Wow.
and won't look at data for the single greatest environmentally destructive factor of all, by far. So all we can do, and what I did in that office, was to make clear that his hypocrisy was immense. You try to shame them into taking some material. The same is true, Luca, with many of the churches. And again, I'm not singling out any particular denomination, but I'm saying environmentalist organizations that have nonprofit status and many of the churches that also have nonprofit status, it seems at this point, are more interested in protecting that nonprofit than they are in facing an absolute global unfolding cataclysm that, if we continue on this track, mathematically speaking, will kill us all. I want to state a statistic. In the last 40 years, human populations have doubled. Global wildlife populations have declined by 2/3. If we look at bee colony collapse disorder, for example, we have the environmental community focusing on some chemicals here or there, which are bad. I'm not denying that. But if it's just the chemicals, and I've talked to some of the head bee people in the country, tried to get them to look at data. They refuse for the same reasons we just discussed. They're just in their bubbles. They don't want to come out. If it's just some chemicals on some farms, why are the bees just as dead 1,000 miles into the wilderness? Because there's a much bigger issue going on, and that issue is climate engineering and the total global contamination it's causing. And again, it's not just the contamination. We're all like walking antennas. We're all absorbing this material as we've discussed. We're all more electrically conductive. So now we are much more susceptible to the radio frequency transmissions that are part of these programs as well, like, along with all the other radio frequency transmissions. The same is true for the insects. In Northern California, Luca, we have seen, and we can only attribute this to climate engineering, in the wilderness, in the last 10 years, as measured by Forest Service biologists, we have seen a 90% decline in aquatic and terrestrial insect life. Again, we can only attribute that to the fallout from climate engineering and how radically it has contaminated our environment.
And let's look at another piece of evidence. We know very well this is official. I know I spoke with Weather-Modification Inc., I think out of North Dakota or somewhere like that. They have a website, and they're proud that they've been working since the 60s, one of the biggest weather modification company out there. They do it, by contract. They can pretty much give you water when you need it on demand. Why California, it is in the biggest drought ever, and now you are in an emergency crisis. You are pretty much almost like a martial law of the water. You cannot even take a shower more than 5 minutes. You're going to be fined, and SWAT team, I guess, $500 fine. Why, guys? Same story. Problem, reaction, solution. There is science out there. If they really want to keep the water going, they could, and they can, everywhere they can. Now, they're creating this sort of scarcity for many reasons. Now, all I'm saying, guys, if you want to really see evidence, facts, beside us talking and trying to bring you some interest, because that's all pretty much I can do with the show, try to give you some curiosity, I challenge you to go on the website of dane-wiginton, and geoengineeringwatch.org, and I will post a link. If you go to today's show, lovegunsfreedom.com, I will post the link, permanent link of today's show to this website, geoengineeringwatch.org. And this is like a huge amount of information and data and evidence, facts, that it's going to take you probably days to go through. But once you go through all this evidence, I ask you, I beg you, as a person, not even as an American anymore, as a human being, because you may be now in Italy, may be in Germany, wherever you are, I don't care. We're all pretty much in the same danger. You got to do something. And the first thing you can do is inform your fellow neighbors, your family. We must reach critical mass. That's the bottom line. And the point is, then at that point, we must put these elected public servants on a corner and tell them that it's time to stop to treat us like a bunch of stupid children, because we have eyes, we have a brain, we don't need to be some professors from some university, we don't need to have any special degree, we can read data, we can read blood tests, we can have eyes to see something's going on, and we demand right now to stop this. And at this point, only when we reach the critical mass, and people, instead of going to the, entertainment, like they are pretty much created to distract us, you can fill the 50,000 people stadium in 1 hour. We should fill the congressman office with 50,000 people in 1 hour, sit there till they don't do something. Otherwise, they don't come back anymore from Washington. This is my call to action. What is your call to action, please, Dane? Give us some input here. We need to do something.
We do, and if I could back up the California drought, whatever a person wants to speculate as to the motives or motives in this case behind that act, there is absolutely no question that drought is completely engineered. We have the satellite images at geoengineeringwatch.org to prove what they're doing off our coast, which breaks up the storm track. Grid pattern spraying. We have, again, satellite images proving it, showing it. We know the scientific data that It proves what happens when you aerosolize the atmosphere. It diminishes and disperses the storm track and the rain pattern. So there's no question. People can Google engineered drought catastrophe, target California, or they'll see that presentation with a lot more data. So that drought, as you correctly stated, engineered. For data on our site, Luca, we have no advertising whatsoever. We do not sell anything. We are non-political. The site exists for the sole purpose of educating the public as to the greatest threat they face of all, short of nuclear cataclysm. So back to sharing the word. Do it effectively. Don't point at the sky and start ranting. Get credible data to pass on. We have downloadable flyers on our site. You can download for free, print them, pass something on to someone to give them a heads up that this is going on and it affects every single breath they take. And if we don't deal with this, nothing else will matter. We're getting dumber by the day. Every single one of us is breathing this material in. And I don't say that facetiously. We are getting less cognitively functional.
It's true. It is true. It is true. I'm doing a journal, like a diary. And I pretty much now I see whenever the day that we have heavy spraying here in this area in Mohave County, I start to feel like foggy, like almost I've been drugged, okay? And it is very scary. Then the days that we have clear sky for a few days or weeks maybe sometimes, I feel like I used to be. Great, healthy. Then out of the blue, they start to spray at night. I see the stuff coming down. And give me 24 hours, I start to see the same effects. Fatigue, you have cramps in your legs, pain under your feet, like somebody almost gave you some sort of a drug just to bring you down. I can't even walk. My eyes look different. They look glossy. I have this sense of fever that I don't have a fever. It's very, very scary and sad. That's why, this show I bring in many topics, but I've been trying to bring these evidence of weather modification, geoengineering as many times as I can. And I'm saying, when you go to the website, Geoengineering Watch, you understand that this job is nothing free. There is no advertisement. Guess what? Too bad, because people need to pay something here. We need to help. Because I don't know what you do for a living, my friend Dane, but life costs, and you spending hours, years of your life, dedicating time that you could make a living or you could make taking care of your family for this common cause. That, don't get me wrong, it's very important. But we must do our little part. Right now, even just symbolically, I want to donate $10. There is a little PayPal button. Please donate even just the price of a coffee. If you're listening to the show in the future, I don't care when, go to the geoengineeringwatch.org. Understand the job. This is real data. This is a real critical information. And when you understand that this is real, two things you should do. Share it, learn it, and support it.
Whatever comes to the site, Luca, we use for activist materials that I mail around the country, right from my home. My kitchen looks like a U.S. Postal Service mailing center. I supply materials to activists across the country, and this is what we use any contributions for. We've given out about 200,000 color glossy, heavy paper, two-sided flyers, several thousand DVDs, which people can, of course, copy and make more when they get the DVD with multiple presentations. So that's all we try to do with that. When resources come in, we put it into the field to supply activists.
Okay, guys, listen, thank you very much, Dane. I appreciate so much what you're doing, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Get this YouTube. I also put it out as a YouTube. Please send this information everywhere you can. Please, this is important.
Death by irritation or just by asphyxiation. Problems with